explain it to Bert, or would you like me to do it?
The nature of the business?
Yes.
Essentially, I have my friend Ronald here who has been in the business for 12 years, and he...
Ronald doesn't have to explain it.
Okay.
I'm going to, in stick terms, explain it to Bert. You tell me if I'm wrong.
All right.
Simple. You have this vitamin bottle, because that's what they sell, vitamins.
Mm-hmm.
And Ronald, that's this guy over here, he's been in the business 12 years.
Mm-hmm.
He sometimes sells these vitamins. Mm-hmm. But what he does mostly is get other people under him who sell vitamins.
Mm-hmm. And
depending upon at what level they buy in, they could buy in with $500 or $1,000 or $2,000, they get product. He brings him in. Mr. Sincere over here buys $5,000 worth of product. He gets a piece of that.
Sure.
So it's like slavery, you know. What you do is he brings in, what's your first name?
Damien.
He brings in a lot of Damiens. Damien 1, Damien 2, Damien 3, Damien 4. And whatever Damien orders from the business, not sells, but orders from the business, Ronald gets a piece of.
Multi-level marketing.
Correct. Now, so then it inures to Damien 1 through 5. They say, listen, we want to be Ronald too.
Of course.
So we're going to see if we can get, what's your name?
Amy.
A whole bunch of Amy's under us to buy as much product as you can, because they get a piece of whatever Amy buys.
Of course. And
And
him
they
too.
also, and so does Ronald.
That's right.
Because Ronald gets a smaller piece of Amy, but he still gets a piece of Amy. And then, what's your name?
Davey.
What's your name?
Cody.
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 Amy then says, I want to get a whole bunch of Codys because that's the way I'm going to make my money. And he's going to get a little piece of Cody, and he's going to get a smaller piece of Cody, but everybody's going to get a piece of Cody. That's the way the game works.
Oh, yeah.
Got it?
That's right.
Pretty much. Now, you also reach certain levels in this business, because if you're a master, or if you're a guru, or if you're a titan, or if you're an Ogatunji, whatever it is, what happens is they give you perks.
Oh, yeah.
Do you get perks in your business, like a car?
If you get high enough, you do.
Yeah.
I'm not there yet.
You think this is a scheme that I haven't been through a couple of times in my life?
No, I didn't say that.
All right, I got it. So if you get up really high, if you get to be a Grandmaster Ungatunji, they give you a BMW.
Of course.
Or they give you a Mercedes. So there are advantages for Ronald to get a whole bunch of Damiens, and for Damiens to get a whole bunch of Amy's, and for Amy's to get a whole bunch of Cody's, because in addition to getting the money, you also get the perks. That's the drill. Now, Damien over here got Amy involved in the business, and she bought inventory. How much worth, sir?
It was worth $5,000.
What are you asking him for? The questions are going to get harder.
Oh, my. I think it was worth about $5,000, and he actually put up $3,300.
Okay, but you put up the money for her.
Yes, I did.
On your credit card.
Yes, I did.
Because you were hoping that she was going to do well in the business, and she wasn't such a good salesperson. And she couldn't find a Cody. If she killed herself, she couldn't find a Cody. So you ended up getting stiffed for your money.
Correct.
And she sent back some of her product.
Right, some of it.
But you want, because you're stuck with the bill now, Mr. Ogatunji yet.
Right.
There isn't any such thing as a
There may be,
Grandmaster
not that high
Ogatunji,
up.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I sort of made that up because it sounded funny. So you want her to pay you the money. Ms. Brown says you gave her all kinds of sales pitch. You told her she was going to make a fortune, that there were Codys floating around under every rock, that she was going to be able to sell these vitamins, that they were the greatest thing since sliced bread. And she couldn't do it because she was no salesperson. And since you didn't help her, she sent back the product that she hadn't used. If you have the bill, that's your problem. Okay, we have certain things that we understand. We understand that he bought in for $3,300 and put it on his credit card. That is an agreed state of fact. It is also agreed that you agreed to pay him back that money for starting you in this business. This was going to be your business. You were going to be a grand female Ugatunja. Didn't work out. Wasn't your thing. So what did you do?
I asked for his help several times,
How did you do that?
either phone conversations or via email.
And what did he say to you?
Usually it was, yeah, we need to get together and talk about this, which never happened. And after so many attempts, I just sent all the product back.
And what did he say?
He was fine with it as far as I knew. I told him I was going to do it, and he said he understood.
So, when did he decide to sue you?
I just was served about 2 weeks ago.
When was this that you sent back the product?
Believe it was May or June of 2006.
So why did you wait to sue her, sir? Is not an answer.
Okay. I wanted to work with Amy to give her an opportunity to pay back the remaining balance.
Well, had you asked her for it?
Of course.
How many times did you ask her for the balance?
Numerous. Both on the phone, and then when she started not returning my phone calls, our relationship was degraded to emailing. And I have in emails that she said she would indeed pay back the remaining balance.
Can I see it, please?
May I say something else, Your Honor?
Yes.
I absolutely did make every attempt to not only talk to Amy on the phone, but to get together with her, to involve her in opportunity meetings. Ronald also met her in Anaheim for a meeting. I feel like we put forth a very fair and aggressive effort to assist her with this.
It is clear to me that over the course of several months, you agreed to pay him.
And I agreed to make payments.
So why didn't you?
Because at the time I had lost my job, I was laid off, and I just bought my condo. And
You just bought your condo.
I just bought a condo, and then I was laid off, and then I was trying to get caught up with my other bills, which were a priority.
Well, then you acknowledged this debt to him.
A portion of it,
Well, which portion of it, madam?
I agreed to, okay, he had agreed to help me with.
Listen, we're beyond that. We had agreed to
Okay.
help you. Now I have emails where you clearly acknowledge the debt, which belies what you told me, that he breached his contract to help you, which is why you don't have to pay him. So now we know that you agreed to pay him. So I'm asking you why. Is it because you bought a condo?
No, the condo was prior to even meeting him.
Well, so what does that have to do with paying him back for
Well,
your business?
no, I had been laid off, and that's when I met him, and he convinced me to do this so that I could make money. Then
it didn't work out, and you returned the
Right.
product, and you still said, I'm going to pay you. So what stopped you?
Well, I didn't agree with the amounts that he was saying I owed him.
Well, how much do you say you owe him? That's where I started 5 minutes ago.
Okay, I believe I owe him maybe $1,000 just based on the portions of it that I was able to sell.
Well, how much did you sell?
Maybe a couple $100 worth to just.
Where are your
friends.
records?
There's no record. I mean, you sell the container to people for cash.
What do you mean, you sell it for cash and then you don't report it to anybody? Not even the government? How do you expect to pay your taxes?
I don't know. This to help me with.
He's
My
not supposed
business.
to help you with that. This is your business.
Well, this is what he promised to help me with. I have the emails where he stated he promised
Oh,
to
okay.
help me as
How
well.
much product? $3,300. How much product did you send back?
She returned $699.30, which was credited to my credit card, and she gave me a personal check for $300.
And you cashed it.
Of course.
Good.
Also, Your Honor, originally I gave Amy a can, 2 cans of product, which I said you can pay me back for. Just give me the same cans once you get your order, and she never did. So I had added that
You're
in
going
as
to
well.
have to live with that, sir. Damien.
Okay.
So she returned $700 worth of product, bringing it down to $2,600, and she gave you $300, leaving a grand total of $2,300. And
they've actually prorated that. That they don't refund you the full amount, so they only give you, I think, 80 to 90% back, and that's what was credited to his credit card.
well, that's all right. He has to be made whole. You're a big girl. How old are you?
36.
What?
36.
36. 36 years old. You make a decision. It doesn't work out. You have to take care of the consequences. These are slick guys. This is the way they make a living. They find people who are young, looking to start a new life, start a new business, not worked out in other fields, and they say, listen, you can make a lot of money. And some people make a lot of money. Ronald makes a good living, right? Damien, I don't know. Do you make a good living?
I'm working on it.
Well, how much did you earn last year?
With Just Relive,
Yes.
I'd have to look at my tax return.
Let's try to give me a round ballpark figure, Damien.
I'm going to say probably around $8,000.
8. You make a lot more. You've been there 12 years.
Yeah.
How long have you been in, Damien?
About 3 years.
Oh, when you're there 12 years, you're going to have that Mercedes you want.
I hope so.
What kind of car do you drive, Ronald?
I drove a BMW.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today,
There are always ways to figure out who's telling the truth, Mr. Malabar. I can't get it from one source, I get it from another. Don't you feel foolish? 10 million people are going to...
Real People, Judge Judy. Damien Cecere says he helped friend Amy Brown with a loan to get started in a vitamin-selling business. Damien claims Amy has yet to pay him back.
Now,
Can I say something?
sure.
The business has a 1-year money-back guarantee. So at any point, she could have returned the product and got 90% of her money back. The business isn't designed for people to fail. If they don't want to do it, if they get a new job, that's okay. So if there was ever a discrepancy, she could have returned all the product and Damien would have got reimbursed. So,
But you didn't.
right.
Just got to pay.
Okay.
Thanks.
Sure.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,300. Thank you. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Amy has a very dynamic personality. She knows a lot of people. That's why I thought she'd be successful.
He was a friend, and I was in a bad position and needed the money.
I feel bad because I like Amy, and I wish her good luck on whatever she decides to do.
I believe there's a few people that can make it, and the rest just kind of fall by the wayside.
It's unfortunate. I guess it's part of life. We've moved on. No hard feelings against Amy.
A little background. I gather from your complaint and your answer that you were divorced
Yes, ma'am.
from his mother. You can step up here, sir. And for most of his life, you'd had very little contact.
That's correct.
More recently, you contacted him or you contacted your father. Which way?
I contacted him.
Son contacted you, and you began to build a relationship. Now, Jason has had a troubled adolescence. Is that a fair statement, Jason?
Yeah.
And it is your claim, Mrs. Hamilton, that your funds were used to help Jason out when he got us into some trouble with the law.
Yes.
For an attorney, for restitution payments, and at that time he was in fact living with you. He
Yes.
comes to live with you. Jason says that the lawyer was your idea. He was perfectly happy with the public defender, and that the restitution he has paid for by working it off while he was living with you.
Yeah.
So I'm going to start with you, Jason. How old are you?
22.
What were you in trouble for, Jason?
Aggravated harassment and stalking in the fourth from my ex-girlfriend.
Okay, so let me hear about the first loan that you claim for his lawyer.
When we bailed Jason out on September 18th of last year, Jason was not happy with his public defender at all. He verbalized this to both my husband and myself.
What did he say?
He said he didn't feel that he was going to fight for him. He felt that the public defender just wanted him to plea out to anything and get the case over and done with as quickly as possible. And Jason did not want to do that. He wanted to fight it. He didn't want to be charged, and he didn't want to violate his parole from his previous court case and actions on that.
What were you on parole for, Jason?
Arson.
What burned down, Jason?
Garage.
Go ahead.
On his first court date after he was bailed out, we went and got him an attorney.
Who's we?
My husband and I.
Go ahead.
After that, as far as with the restitution, initially he had to live with us as part of us bailing him out. And when we decided we were moving out of the area, he was given the option to move with us or stay in the area, and we would figure something out and work it out. He decided that he did want to move with us. So my husband and I paid that restitution from his previous case in order to free
arson
it up.
case?
Yes.
Okay.
And then the other part of the restitution was for the current case. After everything was settled, there was $100 restitution
So he
for
pled
that.
guilty. You pled guilty in the current case involving your ex-girlfriend.
Right. I couldn't afford the lawyer anymore, so I had no choice. And I can't...
Were you, at that time that the matter was scheduled for trial, still living with your father and stepmother?
No.
Did you ever pay the lawyer any money?
No.
So it was just a $1,000 retainer that you paid the lawyer?
Correct.
That was after Jason moved out, after
Correct.
you had the altercation in your house with him?
Yes.
Mrs. Hamilton, so far I haven't heard anything about a loan.
Before Jason was bailed out on the phone conversations, he was informed that anything that was pertaining to this legal case was a loan and was to be paid back. That was one of the conditions of him being bailed out. Jason made comments about how he was not like his sister, who also we had a problem with before that. He was not like his sister, and he would pay us back that money. That was said numerous times, and at the end of Jason's stay in our house, because everything was a loan, I had him sign a promissory note.
Well, I know. Jason says that note, you sort of forced him to sign the note because you said you were going to have his bail revoked if he didn't sign the note.
That
okay,
was not
Jason,
how it was
well, I'm going to
worded.
turn over to you now, Jason.
When I was on the phone with them before I was bailed out, I was not told that it was a loan.
I'm sorry, that's wrong.
I moved in with them. I did not know I was going to move in with them. I thought they were going to bail me out, take me home. But instead they brought me to their place, worked for them. My work would be to pay off whatever I did.
Well, what kind of work did you do, Jason?
I helped him, their construction business.
What did you do?
Labor. It was, unload the truck, load the truck, help my father, stuff like that. As far as me with my restitution, like I said, I never asked for the money. I never asked for any of it. I just simply said, when they went to pay it, I said, you don't have to do that. They said, oh, no, don't worry about it. I said,
No,
okay.
that's not what parents say, Jason. They don't use the word, oh, don't worry about it. They might have said, when you get yourself together, we hope you'll pay us back. Does that sound right? Huh?
Yes.
That sounds right. Life is so simple, Mrs. Hamilton. That's what parents say, even if they have an ongoing relationship with their children, if money is tight in a household. You don't say, well, this is a loan, and you will pay me back so much each month on this loan.
Your Honor, in the beginning, he did agree. Before I bailed him out, I told him, if I bail you out, you've got to pay this money back in a timely fashion, and you've got to get your act together, because the lifestyle he was living is totally, I'm afraid he's going to end up in jail for the rest of his life.
Where's your mother?
It's back in Buffalo.
Did you live with her all your life?
Yes.
Are you still in touch with her?
I live with her right now.
You have a sister?
Yes, I do.
How old's your sister?
19.
She in trouble?
No.
What kind of trouble?
Well, when we had her with us, she steals, she lies,
She's never been to jail, but she is a very emotionally troubled person, and she's been in and out of, she was in a group home at one point.
Jason, tell me about the conversation you had with your father about the lawyer, about the public defender.
I was going to get a new PD to begin with, because the guy that was representing me, he just didn't know what he was talking about. He had no clue.
What do you mean? Just a second. What do you mean you were going to get a new PD, public defender? You think that they give them out if you don't like one, you get a chance to get another one?
Well, that's what they were going to do. When I got
You
rid
live in a
of,
very good jurisdiction. If a criminal defendant came before me and said, I don't like that lawyer, I want to get another lawyer, what I would say to them? Go hire your own lawyer. You want to pick and choose? Go hire your own lawyer. This is the public defender for the day. You don't like this one? Get some money and go hire your own lawyer. This is not one from column A and one from column B. You get one chance. Do you understand, Jason?
Yeah, I understand.
Good. Are you working now?
Yes, I am.
What kind of work are you doing?
I'm a barback at a banquet hall.
Hope this New York State Liquor Authority doesn't know about that. Is this arson conviction that you have a felony arson?
Yes.
Woo-hoo! Hope they don't value their liquor license. Listen to me, Jason. I want you to listen to me very carefully. I am not so concerned about the $1,000 that your stepmother and stepfather put up for the lawyer. I think they're going to have to tolerate that, because I think that that's what parents do if they're afraid that their child is going to be confined. And I'm not so sure that that was a loan. But I'm concerned about the restitution, Jason, because what possible value is it to your moral compass if somebody else pays your restitution? Restitution is what you're supposed to pay, right?
I understand that. I was paying it.
How? I don't understand how you
I
were
was
paying.
working
with money I
beforehand.
gave him.
Just a second.
Not just money you gave me. I was doing odd jobs here and there.
Well, you paid some of it, but they paid
Yeah,
the
I was
rest.
paying on
Just
it.
a second. But they paid the rest. Well, paying the rest, it doesn't teach you any kind of a lesson. That's your responsibility. That's not your father's responsibility. That's not your stepmother's responsibility. That's your responsibility. The criminal justice system doesn't want to see. What do you do for a living?
I'm a real estate investor.
Doesn't want to see this lady who works. What do you do for a living?
I'm an investor also.
I don't know what that means, but life is too short.
Buy real estate.
They don't want to see their money going to pay your restitution. They didn't set fire to the garage and they didn't stalk your girlfriend.
I didn't either.
Well, then you lied to the court, sir, when you pled guilty.
I didn't know, what am I going to do if I ain't got money?
You know what innocent people do? They go to trial.
You have
Just a second, Jason. You're 22 years old. Is that what
Yes.
you told me before? How many times have you been arrested? Think. I'm going to give you 5 minutes. How many times have you been arrested?
13 times.
13. Shh. Come on. 13 times. 22 years old. And how many convictions do you have, Jason?
I have 4 convictions.
I have 5 children. How many kids you got?
4.
9 children altogether. Not one arrest.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today,
Miss Knapp, if someone tried to kill me with a car, I wouldn't get into bed with them for a deductible or anything else.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Nicole Han Hamilton says her stepson, Jason Hamilton, owes for loans to retain an attorney and to pay restitution. Nicole says Jason has been arrested for arson and stalking.
You've been arrested 13 times. That cannot all be a mistake. The 4 times that you were convicted is not a mistake. The last 2 times that you pled guilty, I mean, you know the system, evidently. You're smart enough to know the system, that if you want a new PD, all you got to do is stamp your feet around, say, I'm not getting good representation. What you're supposed to do is not do things that get you into any trouble. Do you understand?
I know that.
Okay. And if you didn't learn the first time, and if you didn't learn the second time, the 10th time, you should have learned. By the time you got to the 12th time, it should have been bells go off in your head. Now you're at unlucky 13. Jason, you're 22 years old. You want to die?
No.
You don't care.
No, I care. I'm working now. I'm going for my GED. I have my life on track.
Good.
That's
Then
what I
pay
was-
your restitution. The lawyer, it's yours.
That's fine. I
He's
just
gonna-
wanted him to learn a lesson.
He's
on
going to pay his
responsibility.
restitution. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $695. That's all.
Thank you, Adam.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I look at them as just white trash. What are they going to do? Sue their own son when he hits 18 for all the stuff that they paid for him?
As people can see, he's a punk. He'll always be a punk. I wash my hands with him. I got a beautiful 14-month-old son. I'm doing it right this time.
Smoking pot. I'm in probation. I don't want to get involved in no pot.
He's the one that smokes the pot, and I told him I didn't want it in my house.
I don't have a father. That's the way I look at it.
I'm here to guide you and show you the proper way. If you don't want to do that, I'm done.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Marquez versus Welfare, step forward, please.
23-year-old Joe Marquez is suing his ex-girlfriend, 22-year-old student Jamie Welfare, for selling his washer and dryer. Jamie claims the appliances were a Mother's Day gift from Joe.
How old are you, Mr. Marquez?
I'm 23. I'll be 24 in a couple days.
Before you moved in with Miss Welfare and her 2 children, where were you living?
I was living with my parents.
And when did you move in with Miss Welfare?
I moved in with her in mid-October of 2003.
And how long did you live there?
I lived there until the beginning of April.
And where were you working during that time?
The whole time I was working at Denny's restaurant.
Part-time?
Part-time, yes. I also coached football at the local elementary school.
What was your financial arrangement when you were living with Miss Welfare?
We paid half. I paid $300, she paid $300.
For rent?
For rent, correct.
Is that right?
That's correct.
What about the rest of the expenses?
We usually split those down the middle as well.
And what were you doing, Miss Welfare?
I also had 2 jobs. I was working at 2 separate restaurants.
Okay. This is what the complaint is about. The complaint says that while you were living there, you purchased a washer and dryer. When you moved out in April of 2004, you told Miss Welfare that she could keep them for a while because you had no place to take them because you were moving back with your parents. A year later, you finally get your own place. You let her know you want your washer and dryer back, and she says, forget it.
Actually, I did have a place to put them. I have a receipt for my storage space, which I purchased in April 17th of 04 as well, which was actually 5 days after I moved everything out of the apartment.
All right, so you didn't want to put it in your storage space because...
Well, she has 2 children, and we've been to the laundromat together, and it takes quite a long time to do laundry. And since my parents already had a washer and dryer, I had no need for them at that time. And I had just purchased them in March of that year, which had only been about a month. So I figured I might as well get some use out of them by leaving them at her apartment.
That's somewhat correct, but not completely correct.
23-year-old Joe Marquez is suing his ex-girlfriend, 22-year-old student Jamie Welfare, for selling his washer and dryer. Jamie claims the appliances were a Mother's Day gift from Joe.
Well, let me hear what your version of the events were.
When he bought those for me, it was an early Mother's Day gift. I was the one doing all the laundry. He never even did his own laundry. I was doing my laundry, his laundry, and both of my children's laundry. And between the 2 jobs and being at the laundromat all the time, it was a lot of time away, and so we had been discussing, you know, him buying a washer and dryer for me, and he was looking online and said, hey, come and pick the one you want. And so I picked the one I want. He gave him to me. When he moved out, I was sleeping when he moved out. You know, our relationship had gotten kind of rocky. There was never any discussion about me giving them back, ever.
When, for the first time, did you contact her with regard to retrieving these 2 items?
Your Honor, as she said, I moved out at the very beginning of April of 2004. We didn't talk for 2 weeks afterwards. After that, we, began phone conversations, and actually on May 5th of 2004, she came over to my house, my parents' house, for a little Cinco de Mayo get-together. In May of 2004, I gave Miss Welfare $100 because she was having a rough time making it on her own in the apartment, and I have here a check for utilities/other stuff I gave to Miss Welfare for $100 to help her out.
Can you answer my question?
Sure.
You remember what my question was?
Yes, I do. Have we ever talked about it? About the washer and dryer?
When, for the first time, did you ask for it back?
I first asked for it back when I found out I was moving out with my current girlfriend, which was in March of 2005.
Okay, so between April of 2004 and March 2005, you had absolutely no discussion with her about this washer and dryer.
That is incorrect. When I gave her that check, which was dated May 20th of 04, we had discussed it. She actually wanted to purchase the washer and dryer fully. She wanted to give me payments per month. And I told her that since we were becoming good friends, I did not want the only conversation to be between us about the washer and dryer.
At that time, Mr. Marquez, did you believe that the friendship would rekindle into a relationship?
No. Actually, when we first broke up,
Mr. Marquez, don't insult my intelligence.
Sorry, Your Honor.
You don't go from being lovers to friends without somebody hoping for a little bit more.
That is correct. Yes.
So during that time, and during the time, according to you, she said, why don't you let me make payments on it? You said, no.
Correct.
And now you have a new girlfriend.
Yes, I do.
You moving into an apartment together?
We have currently moved into an apartment as of the 9th of April.
And I assume it doesn't have a washer and dryer.
Actually, it does. After this little skirmish between me and my ex-girlfriend, my current girlfriend went out and purchased one, hoping it would make me feel a little bit better.
Did it?
I was very, very pleased that she would show that much friendship towards me. But I wasn't very angry about the washer and dryer. I was angry at the fact that she took me for granted that I was being nice and letting her borrow the washer and dryer when I could have just put them in my storage.
Get over it. There is something that doesn't ring true, sir, about your story that you told her more than a year ago, that I'm letting you use this piece of equipment that breaks down, that once it's used, it becomes less functional. I'm going to let you use that for as long as it takes. And it just so happens that the time that you want it back is when you're moving in with a new girlfriend. By the way, Whose washer and dryer is the new one that was purchased?
It is hers.
I just want her to hear that.
Yes, I've told her that many times.
Very good. And you know whose this is?
Yes.
Hers. Thank you. That's all. Have a happy life.
Parties are excused and they step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
It boils down to he has a new girlfriend now.
I told her, I gave her my word that I'd let her use them until I moved out again.
And he needs somebody else to do his laundry.
I actually know how to do my laundry.
I mean, his mom did it, then I did it, and now she's going to do it.
Actually, she taught me how to do it.
I think she made the right decision.
I have no hard feeling towards her.
And I'm thankful. I'm very thankful.
If you move out of an apartment with a girlfriend, take everything.
All parties in the matter of Gilbraith versus Brown. Step forward.
30-year-old electrician Steve Gilbraith is suing his ex-wife, 30-year-old food care supervisor Kristen Brown, for an insurance settlement she received when their marital home burned down.
Mr. Gilbraith, you and the defendant had been married.
Yes, ma'am.
You are now divorced.
Yes, ma'am.
Your claim has to do with some property that was in the marital home. The marital home was destroyed by fire. The defendant was reimbursed for losses in that fire by insurance, and you want to be paid for the stuff that was in the house that belonged to you.
That is correct, ma'am.
Okay. So now I need some dates from you, sir. When were you and the defendant married?
We were married October 7th, 1989, divorced October...
Sure, just a second. I'll ask the questions. When did you separate?
Late 97, 98.
Do you remember the month?
I believe it was in January.
Of 1998.
8.
And when you separated, you were living in the home that burned down?
At the time, yes, and then I was asked to move out.
No, just a second. Just answer the question. Don't volunteer. Never volunteer. At the time that you separated, you were living in the house that burned down.
Yes.
The divorce became final when?
On October 29th, 99.
Almost 2 years after you had separated.
Yes.
And 1 month later, the house burned down.
That is correct.
After the final divorce.
That is correct.
Now, what property do you claim, sir, was left in the house when you moved out in January of 1998?
They were personal belongings of mine that the defendant had agreed that I could keep there.
You're volunteering information again. I said, what property did you leave in the house?
This is a list of everything, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Galbraith, between January of 1998 and the time of the divorce in October of 1999, had you gone back to the house at all for any of your property?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
What property did you go back for?
Mainly at the time, it was my personal clothing and stuff like that. Things that I had left there were items that I was actually working on remodeling my son's room in the house, my tools and stuff like that. The majority of what I took out was my personal clothing at the time.
Mm-hmm. Now, I see a large document in there. Is that your judgment of divorce?
I have my, the degree of dissolution here also.
I'd like to take a look at it. This says that at the time of your divorce, you and your wife had allocated all property that belonged to each of you.
That's correct.
And your judgment of divorce says that at the time of this agreement, you have decided whose property belongs to whom, and whoever has physical possession of that property now is the owner of that property. Did you know that?
Yes, ma'am.
The husband and wife agree that each party shall retain as his or her own, free and clear of any claims of the other party, all items of household goods and furnishings presently in his or her possession. That's what it says. So, at the time that the house burned down, sir, all the property in her possession was hers.
The power tools that were in the house I was using to, like I say, to remodel my son's house. Those are tools I use every day on my job. The items that was in there were items that we, her and myself, had agreed verbally that she would allow me to keep there.
Then you put it in this agreement. Did you have an attorney?
At the time, no.
Should have. You signed this.
As I said before, we had a dissolution, and it was an agreement between us in the best interest of our children to keep everything. We've been friends for over 20 years. We tried to keep it in the most friendly possible way we could.
That's fine. What I'm saying to you, Mr. Gilbraith, is that you keep it as friendly as possible. But when you outline in an agreement all other property, you talk about the house, you talk about the car, your truck, it names the truck, it names the year of the truck, the make of the truck, the model of the truck that you're going to keep. It talks about the car that she's going to keep, that she's going to keep up the insurance. You have to do certain deed transactions. It talks about all of those things. And then it talks about personal property. And if you had any personal property in that home, you'd just as easily say, listen, we have to put in another paragraph and list all this property that I have in the home that belongs to me. That's very easy. Didn't anybody tell you that, sir? Am I the first person who's told you that?
No, ma'am. I just, as I said, I assumed being friends that we were, that I could take her on her word.
Did you give him your word that this was all of his property?
No, ma'am, I didn't.
This list, which was made April of 2001, well after the fire.
That's how long it took me to get all of the records and inventory from the insurance company.
It may be, sir, but you had no insurable interest in the property as of the date of your divorce. Because as of the date of this divorce, you were not the owner of any property that was in her possession. It's a simple legal matter, unless she acknowledges that she was merely holding this property for you. You acknowledge that?
No, ma'am.
However, she knows the tools that were in my son's room and all my stuff that was there in that room was being done for her in regards to the remodel of that home, which I had promised I would finish. Unfortunately, a fire happened in the home before that.
That may be. But you're not suing under that theory that you were a workman doing renovation in the house. Your tools were there when it burned down, and therefore those tools should be covered by her insurance.
It also says in my agreement any inheritant material that was in the house was also mine.
You're talking about under miscellaneous?
Yes, I had things that was given to me by my deceased mother and etc.
Mr. Gilbraith, don't pull my leg. Okay. The section that you're reading says the parties agree that each shall retain as his or own, free and clear of any claims of the other, all items of clothing and personal effects presently in his or her possession. The parties further acknowledge and agree that neither party shall have any enforcement rights to the other's inheritance or expectancies, and all future inheritances and expectancies shall remain the property of the inheritor, which means that if somebody dies in your family and leaves you money or property, she cannot claim any of that property. That has nothing to do with your power tools.
No, it has to do with quilts that were made by my mother and my grandmother.
You should have gotten them out before 2 years. Those were not power tools. You don't redo your son's room with quilts.
No, but that's things that she had stored.
Mr. Galbraith, this is a very simple case. You were divorced. At the time of your divorce, the judgment's divorce said all property that you each have in your individual possession belongs to each of you individually, free and clear of any claims by the other. You had the opportunity at the time of the divorce to include this list as property that was in the house that you intended to get back, that it was an agreement with the defendant that you would get back.
She knew
Very
that.
simple. I said including in the judgment of divorce. You did not do that. If you did not do that, you had no interest in any property in her home. Your case is dismissed.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I'm glad it's finally over.
I don't agree with it. She knows what she told me.
I think the decision was the proper decision.
I have to deal with what the judge says.
Hopefully this will end all the different full threats and court battles.
You purchased cell phones, and he was supposed to pay his bill. He didn't pay his bill. You also want him to pay for his cell phone.
Yes.
The defendant says that the money that you did, in fact, give him to have his car fixed was just that, a gift, that he provided all the support for you and his child while you were living in an apartment together, that the phone was something that he purchased, and he paid for that, and he paid for the 1 month's worth of service that he actually used the phone, and then you shut the phone off. He has a counterclaim because he says that in April, at the time that the two of you separated, you had him falsely arrested for domestic violence, and he believes he should be compensated for the 27-hour police precinct. Is that correct, sir?
Correct.
Okay. On what date, Mr. Mealy, were you arrested for domestic violence?
April 3rd, 2006.
And at that time, how long had you and Miss Arnold been living together?
We'd been living together for a little over a year.
Now, Miss Arnold, in the year that you were living together, you were living in an apartment. Is that right?
Correct. We lived in the apartment just from December to April.
And when was your child born?
January 24th, 2006.
Keep your voice up, please.
Okay.
So from the time you moved into the apartment, I assume, until the time that you separated in April, you were not working.
I had one job for about 2 weeks.
So you were not working?
No.
And Mr. Mealy was supporting the household?
Yes.
He was paying the rent?
Yes.
He was paying for food?
Yes.
He was paying the gas, electric, and utilities?
Yes.
Paid for the expenses of the baby at home?
Mostly.
Well, you didn't. So if...
No, but state helped.
How much did the state help?
I believe I got, well, right, as soon as I moved out, I got $440, and he has paid $1 towards child support in the last 3 months.
I'm not asking you that.
Okay.
I'm asking you from December until April.
Pretty much all of it.
So he paid for everything?
Yes.
And you put the car repairs on your credit card?
Part of them, yes.
$600 worth?
I put $210 down on my credit card, and I'm making payments for the rest.
How much in total?
I believe the total was $558.
$558. So for the 4 months that you lived together, your capital contribution was $558.
Yes.
That seem reasonable to you?
No, but I did have the baby.
So what? So did millions of other people, madam.
I just think it's kind of hard to work being 9 months pregnant.
You working now?
No.
Where are you living?
I just got a triplex with my boyfriend.
With your boyfriend?
Yes.
Well, you didn't just have a baby and you're not 9 months pregnant, so how come you're not working?
I am looking for a job.
Well, you've been looking for a long time. Your baby was born January. So first your baby was born, then you had state aid, now you found another boyfriend to support you. Let's hear what happened in April on the 3rd, sir.
April of the 3rd, I picked Destiny up from Albertsons at the job she said she did have for 2 weeks on her lunch break. I lived 1 block from the Albertsons that she worked at.
When you say you lived there, is that where you lived together?
No, she'd actually moved out.
Okay, so she moved out and you were picking her up from work anyway?
Yeah, she asked me to come and pick her up for lunch.
Okay.
And I did so. I went down and I picked Destiny up for lunch. I brought her to my apartment.
Where was the baby?
With her mother.
Okay, so you brought it to your apartment. Is that where she wanted to go?
Yes.
For what?
For lunch.
Okay.
And at that time, me and Destiny started arguing.
What were you arguing about?
We had a car that we purchased together, and Destiny's sister's ex-fiance was the dealer of that car, and he had not sent the stuff into the state, and Destiny went back to him and asked him to change it because she was going to leave me. And
you mean to change the title?
Change the title. And he
to her name?
He rewrote the whole title to her name.
When was the car purchased?
In November of 2005.
In November of 2005, where did the money come to purchase the car?
Destiny had a car previous to that. It was a Pontiac Grand Am. We sold that car and used that money to put the down payment for that car. I supported that car and I paid for all the repairs, fixings.
From November until April?
No, from when Destiny first moved out.
Which was when?
In August 2005.
So from August 2005 until April?
Yes.
You made the payments on the car?
I made the insurance payments as well as the car repairs for both the Jeep and the Grand Am.
Who made the car payment?
Destiny had moved out and she used the state's aid for the car payment.
So you were both paying something for the car?
Correct.
Now I understand what the argument was about. You were annoyed that for whatever you put into the car, you were getting nothing.
Yes, and...
Okay, fine. So that's what the argument was about. Now, what happened during the course of that argument? Because it escalated and the police were ultimately called.
Destiny also was selling my stuff on eBay.
What stuff?
Video game consoles. I had a very large collection of almost every game console. And
I don't know what that is.
The PlayStations, a Sega Saturn, and Destiny was selling on eBay. I then asked for Destiny's keys back. She said no.
You mean she was taking your property out of your house?
Yes.
Were you selling his property on eBay?
The
answer is either yes or no.
Technically, no. We both owned the game consoles. I had talked to him about this. We sold them on eBay, and we split the sharing.
Split the what?
We split the money that we received from it. He made a credit card payment, and I made a payment to Les Schwab from the tires that I bought for him.
I'm not talking about tires. I'm asking you whether you were selling his property on eBay.
I know. Technically, It was both of our property, and we split the money that we got from eBay.
So then there were arguments. So you asked for her keys back because you said she was taking stuff from your house.
Correct.
And she wasn't living there anymore.
Correct.
Good. Okay. And what happened when you asked for the keys back?
She denied me the keys and said
What did she say?
She had more stuff inside the house. She wanted to move out. Her keys were then sitting on top of her purse. I pulled them out, and that's when Destiny grabbed for the keys back, and I refused to
Give them back.
Give them back.
Go ahead.
Destiny did scratch my arm. I had scratches on my arm, and that is in the police report. However, the police report would not be released to me.
Just listen to me. After you grabbed the keys, by the way, whose name is on the lease?
Mine.
And she had moved out when?
She moved out in July.
She moved out in July. She was still coming around in April?
Yes.
Is that right?
No.
When did you move out?
I moved out of the apartment in April.
When did you stop sleeping there?
In April.
Is that right?
Yes.
I thought you said she moved out in July.
It was the end of July, beginning of April. June.
Mr. Mealy, you want to go over the months again?
I have my months confused.
So you had not been sleeping in the apartment. You already broke up.
Yes.
Is that right? And you moved out, and you moved in with your mother.
Yes.
Okay.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You told the police that he probably scratched himself to get you in trouble.
I wasn't sure.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Destiny Arnold claims the father of her child, Nicholas Mealy, owes for car repair costs and a cell phone bill. Nicholas is countersuing, claiming Destiny had him falsely arrested for domestic violence.
Now, when you had this argument over the keys, you say that she scratched you.
Yes.
Did you touch her?
I pushed her hands away off of scratching me, yes.
Who called the police?
I did. We both did.
Who called the police first?
I did.
And where was she when you called the police?
She was outside, standing by her car.
How did you get outside?
When he ripped my purse from my hands to get my keys, I told him I was going to call the police. I ran to the next door neighbor and nobody was home. When I ran back into his apartment to grab my purse off the counter where he had put it, he was on the phone with the police telling them that I was hitting him and pushing him. So I grabbed my purse and my phone and I walked outside to the parking lot and I called the police.
So he called the police first?
Yes.
Did you have any bruises on you?
No, ma'am.
You have a police report?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to see it. What happened, Miss Arnold, when you went to the neighbor's house?
Nobody was home.
What did you go to the neighbor's house for?
To call the police. He had taken my phone and my purse from me.
What were you calling the police about?
He had ripped my purse from me. And
So you were calling the police because he took your purse?
Yes.
Miss Arnold, you weren't honest with the police.
Yes, I was.
No, you weren't. According to the police officer, you said that he assaulted you. That's not true.
He ripped...
That's not true.
Okay.
He did not assault you. He did not assault you. He took your purse because he wanted the keys. Not a smart thing to do, but he did not assault you. And the police officer noted scratch marks on him, nothing on you.
Correct.
I have no idea why he was arrested. And you told the police that he probably scratched himself to get you in trouble.
I wasn't sure what had happened. I did not recall touching him at all.
Well, that's going to be an expensive fib and an expensive scratch, Miss Arnold.
I really don't remember touching him.
That's too bad. I believe him.
Okay.
And I believe that it's an unfortunate breakup. She used her influence with the dealership to change the title to a car, which she knew you had an interest in. According to the police, she acknowledged to the police that she destroyed the sales agreement, which listed you as a co-owner of the car, and had the papers changed because that was what the dispute was about. You know, if things don't work out, Miss Arnold, they don't work out. But you're supposed to be fair and reasonable. I don't think you were fair and reasonable at all. So that's going to cost you. So I don't even have to deal with your claim. You're not supposed to make false reports about people. There's no question in my mind that if he had assaulted you and you went to a neighbor's house because you wanted your pocketbook back, if he had assaulted you, you would not have gone back into the apartment. You would have gone yet to another neighbor. But certainly if one is in fear of their life or their physical situation, they don't go back to the same environment. They leave. You chose not to do that. You chose to go back, which suggests to me you weren't in fear. You knew he wasn't going to hit you. You knew he wasn't going to put his hands on you. Yeah. And the only reason, put your hand down, and the only reason you called the police is because when you came into the apartment, he was on the phone with the police.
He is an abusive man. He has taped the binky into our daughter's mouth. My mom had seen him push
Listen to me. Stop making up stories. Sounds to me as if however old you are, how old are you, 20?
18.
18. Well, you already have a baby with one man. You moved in with your mother. Now you moved into another apartment with yet a new boyfriend. Sounds to me your life is going in a downward spiral. I suggest you fix it.
Okay.
Judgment on the counterclaim for the amount of $2,000. Your claim is subsumed by the counterclaim, which means it's taken care of by the counterclaim. That's all.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. May step out.
He will not see her. He will not have any contact with her.
They can say what they want and lie about what they want.
I will be going to get full custody.
Those are just comments.
And I know he will never see his child again.
I plan.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Spandy versus Gretha, step forward, please.
Computer operator Tim Spandy is suing his daughter's former friend, 18-year-old event coordinator Tom Grether, for wrecking his wife's car. Tom says he was driving because Tim's daughter was drunk.
Mr. Spandy, this your daughter?
Yes, it is.
Your daughter was driving your car?
No, she wasn't.
Whose car was she using?
It was my wife's car.
So your daughter was driving your wife's car with your permission. She goes to a party or some sort of gathering, and this young man was there. She got too drunk to drive home. She asked him to drive home. He was also drunk. He totaled the car. You want him to pay for the car.
Yes, that's correct, ma'am.
And Mr. Grether says, well, he has certain responsibility. He doesn't have total responsibility. Your daughter has partial responsibility. Okay. When was this party?
February 13th.
At a house?
Yeah.
Did you know Mr. Grether before the party?
Yes, I did.
Okay. How much did you drink?
I think I had like 4 cups of beer.
Why did you drink if you were driving?
I was planning on staying over.
So why didn't you stay over?
Because there's some drama about missing pieces, and then all of
Missing pieces? What?
Bongs.
What is that?
Stuff you smoke marijuana out of.
There was drama about some drugs.
Yeah.
What kind of drama was there about drugs?
One kid accused one of Tom's friends of stealing piece.
So there was some drama, so you wanted to go home?
Well, because all of Tom's friends were leaving, and Tom invited us to the party. We didn't know the people whose house it was at, so we all decided to leave and go back to Tom's.
And you were too drunk to drive?
Yeah.
So you really didn't have good judgment?
Yeah.
What about Tom?
Well, my friends said they gave him a drunk test and see if he could walk a line and if he had slurred speech, and he said he stopped drinking 2 hours before that.
So you had your friends, your drunken friends, give him an alcohol sobriety test. Is that what you're telling me, Miss Spandy?
Yes.
And your slightly inebriated friends told you that he was sufficiently sober to drive your mother's car?
Yeah.
Tell me how you totaled her mother's car.
We were driving down a dirt and gravel road, and the car had spun out, and we had crashed into a tree.
All right. Now we'll hear you.
Yeah. Before we started driving, he decided to whip a donut in a cul-de-sac, which was a dirt road. And I'm like, Tom, you need to stop. And he was like, okay, I used to drive a Ford Contour. I have total control. And so then he stops, and then he was like, hey, look at this. And I saw his hand reaching for the emergency brake, but I don't really know if he pulled it or whatever. It just happened too fast. We lost control, and then we ran into a tree.
I was only kidding. I actually never got grasped with the emergency brake. 3 other vehicles ahead of me had spun out at the exact same spot that I had spoke with afterwards. They were all driving
What I don't
SUVs.
understand, Mr. Spandy, is why you think your daughter is not at least partially responsible for what happened that night.
Well, for one thing, the defendant here, he was driving with a suspended license. He knew he was not supposed to be behind the driver's wheel at all.
He was drunk. Put your hand down. They were all drinking and doing marijuana.
I understand that.
Mr. Spandy, your daughter took her mother's car and acted irresponsibly with it. She drank. She was probably smoking marijuana. She gave the car to somebody who was given a field sobriety test by a bunch of other teenage alcoholics. And you think she bears no responsibility?
Well, he should have known right from wrong. I mean...
He was wrong. There's no question he was wrong. You don't take your mother's car and then drink.
I agree.
And you don't take your mother's car and then drink and do bongs or whatever they are. What you do is, if you think that you're going to drink, you say, Dad, would you drive me to the party and pick me up? Or If you don't intend to drink and then you go to the party and you drink, you say, give me the phone, I'm going to call my father to come pick me up. She could have done that too, right?
Yes, and that's what she's been instructed to do.
But you mean before this incident, you told her, if you drink, call us, we'll come pick you up, right? So she did the wrong thing.
Yes.
That's all I'm asking you, Mr. Spandy. I'm not saying that Mr. Greta here is going to get off scot-free. But what I'm telling you is your daughter bears some responsibility for what happened that night.
I agree. I mean, she was in the wrong, but for somebody of his age, a little bit older, selling alcohol and all that other stuff
Just a
going
second.
on, that
How old is your daughter?
17.
And how old are you?
I'll be 19 in a few weeks.
Listen, she's 17, he's 18. You know how much longer it takes a boy to mature than it takes a girl to mature?
Yes.
I just want you to take a look at him. Take a look at him. You'll understand what I'm talking about.
Yes, I understand completely.
Do you understand what I'm talking
Oh,
about?
yes.
All right. So don't tell me that he's so much older and is selling liquor. She's 17 years old. She shouldn't be drinking 5 beers, right?
I understand that.
Bad judgment.
Yes, very.
And if you start...
May I please add on the...
Don't say anything.
Sorry.
All right. Start with this premise, Mr. Spandy. But for the fact that your daughter did the wrong thing, you would not be standing here today.
Correct.
She did the wrong thing 3 times. She took the car. She drank.
Yes.
Instead of calling you to come pick her up, she gave the car keys to him. But for her actions, he, who's not any older than she is, would not have control of the car. He didn't steal the car keys. He didn't grab them out of her pocket. She was drunk. He was drunk. They're just lucky they're not dead.
Yes.
So the car was totaled.
Yes.
Did you have insurance?
I only had liability, no collision, so the insurance company would not pay for it.
When did you purchase the car?
I purchased it 8/25/04.
And how much did you pay for it?
We paid a little over $4,300. Other charges incurred that night was towing fee and pound lot, and that was over $200.
So you paid $43 plus another $2.
Yes.
Half $4,500 is $2,250. $2,250 is his responsibility. The other $2,250 is your daughter's responsibility. I suggest that you see to it that she takes care of it.
Oh, she's already taken care of the other car we have purchased.
Good. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,250. That's all.
Parties are excused and they step out.
I take some of the responsibility. I mean, I made a wrong decision. I should not have been driving.
I fully agree with her that they both were at fault.
I'm happy with it. At least I guess we got some money out of it to help pay.
She chose to drive to a party knowing that there was liquor.
Everything happened just so quickly.
The police were involved.
I was just hysterical. I couldn't control myself.
I made a phone call to her father, apologized for what had happened, and offered to make up some type of payment plan. He refused the payment plan and told me that he wanted it all in one sum.
You know, making up payment plans would not go over well because you skip a payment here, skip a payment there, so I just thought one lump sum would be better.
I'm just glad that things turned out this way and that Judge Judy saw my side of it.
Juliet Vasasio is suing her ex-boyfriend, Omar Pierce, for unpaid rent and a security deposit. Omar says Juliet is angry that he went back to his wife.
Ms. Vasasio, this very unhappy gentleman who's standing next to you, Mr. Pierce, used to be your boyfriend,
Yes.
even though he was married. And you have a child together.
Yes.
Mistake number 2. And it is your claim that the two of you leased an apartment for 6 months because you claim Mr. Pierce wanted to move out of your parents' home where the two of you were living with your baby and have a place of your own. You signed the 6 months lease. He didn't really hold up his end of the rent, which you had agreed to, and then he moved out, leaving you stuck with the lease. Mr. Pierce says that you couldn't rip him from the heart of his wife and 2 sons, and that he decided to go home, and that he paid rent while he lived there, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Did I explain your position, sir?
No, I don't owe any of the money.
What?
I don't owe any money.
Oh, this is going to be harder than I thought. When did he live in your parents' house?
The first time he moved in was in May.
Of 2006?
Yes.
How old is your baby?
He's 2.5. He'll be 3 in October.
Is that your only child?
Yes.
Why would you have a baby with somebody who's married?
Because he lied and told me he wasn't married.
He told me he had just separated and he was divorced from his wife 6 months prior to when I met him.
He said he was separated or divorced?
The same difference. He said...
No, it's not the same difference. Separated is not divorced.
At first, he didn't have a wife. I would have never went with him if he told me that he was married.
And when did he finally tell you he was married?
He never did. He never told me that he was married. I had to find out from his wife that he was married. And it was after I had my son.
Was he living with you?
No, he wasn't.
Why wasn't he living with you?
I don't know.
Did you ask him why we're not living together?
No.
Did you ask him why we're not married?
No, he knows that I wouldn't want to marry him. I told him, I don't want to get married. Why do I need to get married? If I live with somebody, why would I need to get married?
Well, why if you're fighting with somebody? You're right, you shouldn't marry somebody you're fighting with, right? You also shouldn't make a baby with them.
That was before I found out that he was married.
What difference does it make if he's married or not? If you don't want to get married and you're not getting along with him.
We were not fighting before that. Everything was fine before that. There was no fighting or nothing.
You mean everything was fine until you got pregnant?
Yes. Well, he was okay up until the month I had my baby.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm a receiving clerk.
Where?
I don't want to say.
In what city?
In San Marcos.
How long have you been a shipping clerk for the company that you work for now?
Close to a year.
And before that, where did you work?
Oh, I didn't work.
Huh?
I didn't work. Oh, I did work, but in numerous places.
What kind of work does the plaintiff do?
I work in the emergency room.
What kind of work does the plaintiff do?
She works in a hospital, I guess.
What do you mean you guess?
Why I see her go there. I mean, yeah, she works in a hospital. Excuse me, I don't want to be...
Yeah, don't be a smart aleck, sir. You know, you're having trouble just keeping your head above water here. And what prompted you to decide to get an apartment with him? Because now you're living with your parents and your son, right? Everything is nice. The baby has some stability, live at home, so he's got grandparents, nice. Now you know he's married. And he says, let's get an apartment together.
He's the father of my child. I'm going to give him a chance. If I'm going to want him in my son's life, I'm going to give him that chance. He told me that he was in the process already of divorcing his wife. 2 weeks before we signed our lease, before we were going to move in together, he told me that his divorce was going to be final. That obviously
So you
was
signed
not
the
true.
lease. Can I see the lease, please?
Yes, you may.
November of 2006 is when you started. When did he move out?
In January of 2007.
So he lived there with you for 2 months, right?
Yes.
What?
We moved in October, and I gave her rent for October.
Says that the rent is due the first date of each month beginning November 2nd.
Thank you. It's November.
Your lease started November 2nd,
Yes.
2006. Why did you move out?
I went back with my wife and kids, went home.
You went back with your wife and kids. Well, what'd you expect her to do with this apartment?
Well, she told me before you even moved into the place that I can go back to my family, go back, break the lease, and go back to my family.
Just a second. She what? Say it again to me,
She told
so
me-
I believe it.
She told me that I can, if it didn't work, I could break the lease. And
And go back to your wife.
Yes.
Those words never came out of a woman's mouth.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Not her mouth.
Thank you. Especially
Not
with
just
somebody with a kid.
Just a second. Don't it? Look at me. Those words not only didn't come out of her mouth, they didn't come out of any woman's mouth in history. If it doesn't work out between us, you can break the lease and go back to your wife.
Yeah, because she knew how I felt about my wife and her.
What, are you crazy? Why did you sign this lease, Mr. Pierce?
Because I wanted it to be free. I thought it was going to work out between me and her.
Because what?
I wanted it to be free. I wanted, because we would have fun. I thought it would be, work out between me and Juliet.
So you wanted to have fun. You couldn't have fun in her parents' house.
We agreed to move out so we could be together.
You wanted to be free.
Yeah, well,
You wanted
for
to
many-
be able to drink and smoke and do what you wanted to do and have a good time. You couldn't do that at her parents' house. And her parents probably looked at you like I'm looking at you and saying, why? I raised this nice girl and she brings me home a bum. Why? What happened? Mr. Pierce, you have a responsibility to pay her for the remainder of the lease, your half. Do you want me to explain why to you, sir?
No.
No?
Well, because I don't owe her any money. When I stayed there, she said that it was okay, because she knew I had to support my other kids.
You know, when I was a kid, my grandmother used to tell me that, God one day God gave you a heart, one day a soul, one day you got a brain, one day you got... What was that? absent. He was absent. You picked the wrong day to be absent, Mr. Pierce. Listen to what I'm saying to you, sir. You have 3 children. You made 3 children. You can't afford to have 3 children. You probably can't even afford to take care of yourself. So you have to find some other hobby other than having children. That's number 1. Number 2, sir, look over here. You signed a lease. That has meaning. Whether you pay taxes or not is not my issue. Signing this contract is my issue. Do you understand, sir?
Yes.
Signing this contract obligated her to pay this rent. Now, if they can't come after you because they can't find you, that is a problem. Do we understand each other, Mr. Pierce?
Yes, ma'am.
You understand me loud and clear now, Mr. Pierce?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. I'm glad now we understand each other, sir. So when you sign a lease for 6 months with the mother of your child and take her out of a home where she's living relatively comfortably, rent-free, and then you get an epiphany and want to be near your other baby's mother, that doesn't mean you are absolved from paying her for the rent. Do you understand, sir? If Uncle Sam can't find you, I can. Do we understand each other?
Yes, ma'am.
Very good. The rent is $825. According to your complaint, he was supposed to pay $400. $400 times 4 equals $1,600. That's for the 4 months remaining on the lease after you moved out, sir. Do you understand?
Yes.
Goodbye. Judgment for the plaintiff. That's
Parties
He came to me crying about the middle of February, indicating that his life was in danger, that if he didn't have this money, he would be hurt. I trusted him. At that point, he said that he wanted to make this relationship work. I took him for his word. He swindled me.
Where did you get the money from?
It was a tax debt that I owe. I took a loan out on my house.
Interesting. It was a tax debt. What kind of tax debt?
I owe the IRS money from cashing stock in. I took a mortgage out on my house.
Do you have proof of that?
Yes. He knew I was getting a loan for this money. He came to me right about the time it was about to fund.
Let me see.
Your Honor, that's false. I didn't know anything about the loan until after the fact.
He had made an agreement with me, an oral agreement, that he would pay this back before the 15th.
Just a second. Okay, and what date did he come to you in February?
On the 20th.
And what did he tell you that the money was needed for?
I have no idea. He said that his life was in danger. I took
didn't
him for
ask
his
him?
word. I just saw that he was scared.
And you gave him the money in cash?
Yes. He indicated that was the nature of it.
Your Honor, I do have a
Just a
bank
second.
account. I'm able to cash checks.
Just a second. How much was the amount of your tax bill?
$70,000.
Okay. Go.
Your Honor, this first thing I'd like to present this letter, actually, that I have. It shows
A letter
little-
from what?
It's a letter, actually, from the plaintiff. It shows a little bit of what her word is, and
Your Honor,
That's-
I have
this-
never mailed him any letters.
it obviously has her. That's the original there, Your Honor, with her signature at the bottom.
I can't read and listen to you at the same time. Okay, just show this to her. That really has nothing to do with this case.
Absolutely nothing.
Well, that goes to show that her word really means nothing, to tell you the truth, Your Honor. This was not a loan.
Well, tell me what
I
it
had
was,
done
sir. I
work
read
for
your
her.
answer. Tell me what it was.
I had done work for her in the middle of last year. My brother as well was working with me at the time. He was my employee. And we had spoken with her, him and I, at the same time, were present, to do anywhere from $8,000 to $10,000 worth of work on her home.
That's a lie.
Skylights, countertop, tile,
Just a
replace a double door in the front entry.
Okay, so you had started to do some work on her house.
That's correct.
When did you start to do the work on her house?
I believe it was July 24th or 25th. We worked there
Of
for 3 days.
2000?
Yes.
And how many days did you work there?
We worked there for 3 days, Your Honor.
Oh, okay.
On the third day, we had the job almost completely done, the portion that we were doing, and she said, I'll finish it myself. Had never given us any money for materials besides a $500 check. She had not paid us for our labor,
Just a
which I
second.
had to
Wait,
pay
wait,
my
wait,
employee.
She gave you $500.
A check, that's correct, and that
Well,
was
the
in
check you
July of
cashed.
2000.
Shh, I'm speaking. She gave you a check for $500, and according to you, you worked there 3 days.
That's correct.
Did you have a contract with her?
But we had a verbal agreement.
Did you have a contract with her?
I did not, Your Honor.
Okay. Because no contractor starts a job that says it's between $8,000 and $10,000. When you
She
do
had a list.
I'm speaking. When you do a contract, you say this item is going to cost this and that item is going to cost that. You don't believe that the work that you did in 3 days was $4,000.
No, it was not, but subsequent to me accepting this job, I turned down numerous other jobs because I was going to be at this job for anywhere from 2 to 3 weeks.
You have proof of that?
Not on hand, Your Honor.
Well, that's your defense. That's your defense to this action. So you should have proof. Now you're telling me she just came home one day and said, I don't want you to work on this project anymore.
That's correct, actually, Your Honor. A few days before that, she had told me that she loved me and wanted to be with me. We went to her house that evening. My brother and I spoke with her on doing this work. She had a large list, pulling out bushes, skylights, numerous work around her house that she had just purchased. We told her, well, okay, we can start in a couple of days. We came by on the Monday of the first part of the week. When we showed up, we asked her to open the garage door so we could unload
So you
materials.
didn't have another job right then?
No. I told her I could be there on Monday.
Just a second. So you were free immediately?
No, I
My
told her I could
statement
help
was
her
you
out.
were free immediately. She spoke to you the week before. You were able to start that Monday. So you were free. You didn't have any other commitments.
At present, I did not at hand. She had asked me first. I had other jobs that I went to. That's the main reason why.
No. My question was, and your response is, you had no other commitments that prevented you from starting her job immediately.
No, I did not.
Okay.
My father had just passed away, so therefore I was still grieving from his death. I had been taking care of him for the first part of that year as well.
Mr. Johnson, pay attention to me. This is about money. This is not about
I
your
have a bill
father's
here as well
unfortunate
that I normally
demise.
write up for customers
Okay?
that I work
Now,
for.
don't you understand when my mouth is moving? There's only one voice that I hear.
I do apologize, Your Honor.
Now, if you felt that she owed you money in July of 2000, why didn't you sue her?
I had spoken to my attorney on putting a lien on her house, and work picked up at that time, so I just filed the bill away that I had written up for the initial work that we had started.
Then I'd like to see the bill that you say you filled out then in July of 2000.
That's correct, Your Honor.
For the work that you started.
I do believe there's a legal term for this called quantum merit, Your Honor.
You didn't do $4,000 worth of work in 3 days. I know what the legal terms are. Quantum merit means that you are paid for the work that you do.
That's correct.
This is not the work that you did in 2.5 days.
She gave me a check for $500, that is it.
Pay attention. This is not the work that you did in 2.5 days. That's not what your answer is. Your answer is that you gave up other jobs because you had a job that you thought was going to last several weeks. That's your
correct.
defense.
That's correct.
So what are you showing me this bill for $4,000?
That's the work that we started doing. Halfway through that, she decided to tell us, and I'll finish the job myself, because the first day we arrived on the job, she had a new boyfriend there.
Your Honor, the reason that Did you remove the countertop?
That's correct.
Did you install a new countertop?
That's correct.
One out of 3.
What do you mean 1 out of 3?
There are 3 countertops. He installed one, gouged the second one, and left the other one standing
That's
in my
false,
garage.
Your
Just a
Honor.
second. Is it there?
I paid somebody else to correct the job.
That's false, Your Honor. There was one section left not put in, Your Honor, and that was the sink side, and that was the day that she asked us to leave. She would finish the job herself.
I fired him because he verbally assaulted me.
What did he say?
He
That is
he
false, Your
quoted
Honor.
me that the job would take 3 days, cost about $800. We're talking tile on the floor, kitchen countertops, and a kitchen sink.
The initial job that we had quoted was just the surface.
On the third day,
Not to
my
the
stove
countertop.
was still not put in its place. The countertops were, my kitchen was not functionable. He kept verbally assaulting me, making rude
that's
comments
false
to
again,
me.
Your Honor.
Please
I don't want to hear
interrupt
any
me.
interruptions.
That's a lie, Your Honor.
Please don't interrupt.
That's a lie. That's a
It is
pure
not a
lie.
lie.
Out. Him. Out. And the next time somebody speaks, I'm going to resolve this case. It's not going to be to their satisfaction.
She's a liar. That's a lie.
Do you understand what I'm saying to you? There is not to be any discussion between the two of you, and you are to respond to my questions. That's the way I run a courtroom. If you don't like it, go somewhere else.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Janelle Murray says ex-boyfriend Rule Johnson owes for an unpaid loan.
Okay. You fired them.
Yes.
Did he leave a sink there?
No. I bought my own sink.
Okay.
That's false as well, Your Honor.
Show me the bill.
I don't have the receipts. I had given them to her at the time.
You're a contractor. Contractors have bills. Can I see it,
Checks.
please? Did you buy a sink set, faucet, and plumbing?
I did not. That was to install her old faucet and plumbing with
You
the
didn't
new
do that.
sink.
Just a second, you didn't do that.
No. That was when she called us.
Just answer my question. You didn't do that.
No.
And you didn't buy the sink.
Yes, I did, Your Honor. That's false.
And you have no proof that you bought a sink, right?
I've got my witness, which you asked to leave the courtroom.
Yeah, because he has big mouth. He doesn't know where he is, and he's not coming back.
Well, when a plaintiff lies, I mean, it's only fair to stand up and say when somebody's a liar.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,500. That's how I resolve the case when you have a big mouth.
Fine.
Thank you.
Have a nice day, Your Honor.
You may step out.
She couldn't accept the fact that she couldn't have me.
He's obviously very full of himself.
She's been obsessive after my brother. She's stalked him.
Ladies, fair warning.
She's a crazy.
Kathleen Bowers is suing her former friend, Lana Batman, for damaging her Dodge Durango when she backed into a pole.
Miss Batman, you will forgive him, won't you?
Sure.
Good. Miss Bowers, this used to be your friend. She borrowed your car. She had an accident. You wanted to pay for the damage to your car. Miss Batman does acknowledge that she had an accident with the car. She said you should have used your insurance, and if you didn't have good enough insurance, that's your problem. That's pretty much your defense.
Yeah.
Right?
Right, correct.
How'd you damage her car?
I pulled into a carport trying to move, and when I pulled out, I was trying to look around the corner, and it hit the carport pole.
So the accident was your fault?
Yeah.
So how does that translate into use your insurance, and if you don't have insurance, you pay for it?
Well, if you don't have the proper insurance, why are you loaning your car out?
Because she had proper insurance. You have liability?
Yes, actually, my mother had bought me the car, so my mother had full coverage insurance on the car. And at the time we were going to file the claim, Lana would not call her agency, because first we were going to try and go through hers. And so she came over and we discussed it, and she told me that since she had borrowed the car, she wanted me to pay half because I had lent it to her. We were going to do it out of pocket, so the insurance, because it was going to go onto her insurance, my mother's insurance, and yeah. So we were going to try to do it outside of there.
You were going to try to do it without using your insurance?
Yes.
Because certainly if you used your mother's insurance rates were at risk, and if you used hers, her insurance rates were potentially at risk.
Yeah, but I wouldn't know because Lana wouldn't get a hold of her insurance for me.
Whatever. You have an estimate?
I do.
Right. I called my insurance.
And?
And they said the insurance follows the car, not the person.
Okay.
That was
Miss
a week after I had
Just
it
a second.
fixed.
Miss Batman, let me try to explain it to you, because I know that you really probably think you're right.
I am right.
Miss Patton, I want you to listen to me.
She shouldn't have loaned her car out.
I want you to listen to me carefully.
I didn't ask to borrow the car.
Listen to me. I want you to listen to me
She
carefully.
felt guilty.
Try listening. Okay, listen.
I'm listening.
Okay.
Can I say something?
First, you have to listen. I understand. Hey, listen. We live in a world of responsibility.
Right. And I'm very
Just listen. Try not to plug up. Try to open up and listen. If you didn't want to accept the responsibility of using her car with caution, then you should not have taken her car. Now, based upon what you told me, you drove the car negligently, not on purpose, but you weren't looking, because certainly if you weren't looking in the right place or if you misjudged space, that's your fault. It's not fair for you to say, well, it's true that I caused the damage to her car, and I want her to bear the responsibility of fixing the car with her insurance, despite the fact that we all know that once you put in a claim for insurance, your premiums go up for sometimes up to 5 years. And that, Miss Batman, is just wrong.
Can I
It's
say
not thinking. I know that you have something you want to say, but I want you to try to absorb what I've said to you as an adult. Now I will hear you.
Okay. First, I didn't borrow the car. She was supposed to help me move.
Shh, no, listen to me.
No,
Listen to
she was supposed to help me move, and she was going to drive the car. I didn't want to drive her car. She was sick, and she couldn't help me as usual, and so she said, well, here, why don't you borrow my car? Because, you know, I feel really guilty. So I said, no, I'll take my dad's truck. And she said, no, take my car. Just take my car.
What does that have to do with what I just said to you?
Well,
how old are you?
30.
Listen to me. If
But
you're
I'm
30,
not finished.
if you're 30, but I'm going to stop you right. If you're 30, and if you say, no, I'll take my dad's truck, the reason you didn't want to take her car is because you didn't want to be responsible for it.
I didn't want to
Listen to
drive
me. You didn't want to be responsible for it.
Right, but she should have been responsible in saying, this is insured under my name. It's under my mother's insurance. You won't be covered.
Miss Batman, if you're 30 years old and somebody says, take my car, and you say, no, I don't want to take your truck, you're forcing me to take your truck, you're holding a gun to my head, I'm going to take your truck, but I'm not going to be responsible for it. If you take her car, you are responsible for acting in a way that doesn't cause damage to the car. And if you cause damage to it, that's your responsibility. Okay. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,260.
Thank you very much.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Claim that the accident was caused when your daughter reached over and grabbed the steering wheel because there was some wild turkeys in the road.
Yes.
And your car was wrecked.
Yes.
And you think she's responsible?
Yes.
Not likely.
Well, Your Honor, I believe that I would have never wrecked my vehicle if she would have pulled the steering wheel out of my control and drove right into a tree.
She never would have had the opportunity had you not been out drinking with your daughter.
I had a firm grip on the steering wheel.
She never would have had the opportunity to grab your steering wheel if you hadn't been out drinking with your daughter. Where did you go drinking that night?
We went to Velva.
What's Velva?
Velva is a city approximately 15 to 20 minutes away from Sawyer.
Who else went out drinking that night?
It was just us two, ma'am.
Is this the first time you went out drinking with your mother?
No, ma'am.
What time did you start drinking?
It was approximately around 9 p.m.
So it was an evening of drinking?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you see any turkeys in the road?
No, ma'am.
She said they were chickens.
Okay, whether they were turkeys,
I'm
chickens,
sorry,
mongoose, or pelicans.
I'm sorry.
If you hadn't been drinking that night, the accident wouldn't have happened.
I'm an experienced driver.
Even when you're drinking?
And I haven't had that much to drink that night.
I am disinclined to find your daughter responsible for an accident that happened while you were driving after you had spent a night drinking. So if your truck was wrecked, and if you didn't have insurance on it, go out and buy a new one.
I did have
However,
insurance.
that's what your daughter says that you did. And she has a counterclaim that I'm really more interested in.
Your Honor.
And her counterclaim is that after this happened, you asked her to cash a check for you, and she did. You told her that the check was from some work that you did online. She cashed the check for you for $2,000. With the $2,000, you went and bought another vehicle. But it turns out that the $2,000 check was a scam. And her bank account was then overdrawn, and the bank went and claimed the money because it was a bad check. She wants you to pay her back that money. Now, where did you get this check from?
It was from Interglobal Lotto. I have the letter that I received.
Can I see the letter, please? Now, when was the car accident with the alleged turkeys?
In
what
about
month?
April, the middle part of April of 2006.
And you got this letter from Interglobal Lotto 2006, after the turkeys.
Yes. And, Your Honor, I would have never crashed my van.
I don't want to hear any more about your van.
If she would have been
I don't want to hear any more about your van. You wouldn't have crashed your van if you hadn't gone out drinking with your daughter.
If I would have been by myself, I would have never crashed.
It's not happening, madam. Move on with it. So after you got this bogus letter, what did you do?
I got a hold of Crystal, and I asked her if she could take me to our bank, because we both banked at the same bank.
For what?
To cash the check. That was attached with that letter.
Your Honor, I do have a copy of the check.
Can I see it, please?
And
Yes,
we
ma'am.
went there, and they said that I no longer had an account there, so Crystal said that I'll cash it on my account because I have an open account, and the bank teller had her sign it after I had signed it.
Good, and she cashed this bogus check for you that any 4-year-old could tell from the letter itself was a bogus letter. The only thing it didn't say that it came from some third world country, which they usually do.
Your Honor.
Just say nothing. She cashed the check and she gave you the
money after I gave her $250 for.
She gave you the money.
Yes.
And what did you do with the money?
I paid on some bills and I bought myself a vehicle.
Fine. So you spent the money on yourself, on your bills, which you would have to pay anyway, and a car for you, and it turned out to be a bad check. Who do you think should be responsible for paying for your bills and your car? Her or you?
Well, she never paid anything for it. And the bank, it was investigated by a detective, and he investigated the case because the bank had filed a
Listen to my question.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, if this letter that any idiot would know is a fake,
yes,
came with a check for $2,000, and if they said, we'd want you to cash this check and then send us back $2,000, and we're going to send you $120,000.
That's not what it says on the letter, though.
I know that. Put on your listening ears. If it had said that,
right.
If is the word, and she cashed the check for $2,000, and you sent it back to Interglobal Lotto, and it turned out to be a bad check, and you were just waiting for your $120,000 to come, I would say, well, maybe you both got skunked. She was dumb enough to cash the check, and you were dumb enough to believe this windfall. But that's not what happened.
Right.
You paid your own bills, bills that you would have to pay anyway. You bought yourself things. You had the advantage of the money. So between you and your daughter, who should have to pay it back? You, listen to me, you who got the benefit of the money, or your daughter, who maybe got the benefit of $250.
Well, Your Honor, it says on there, though, that that's just to pay the taxes on the $120,000. So I figured I'd spend the $1,900 and then wait until I got my $120,000 and then I'd take care of the taxes.
Do you have a lot of children?
5.
Are you not listening to what I said?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Then try answering my question.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Who should pay the money back? Is that a hard question?
No.
Is that a hard question?
Real people. Judge Judy. Doreen Knutson says her daughter, Crystal Kuntz, wrecked her car while trying to avoid turkeys crossing the road.
You got the benefit of the money. You spent it on yourself.
Right.
She didn't. Between you, who got the benefit of the money, and your daughter, who did not get the benefit of the money, who should pay the money back? Is that a hard question?
No.
Is that a hard question? I've repeated it now 3 times. 3 times. My 4-year-old grandchild could give me an answer to that question, madam.
Well, actually, I think the bank should go after the company who issued the check, because it's like writing a bad check. They wrote a bad check and they won't honor it. The bank cashed the
I would
check.
like you, Miss Knutson, to make me a promise. I want you to raise your right hand, please. I will never
go
into global finance.
Go into global finance.
Because I do not have the capacity.
No, I don't want to say that.
Yeah,
but-
well, you don't. Did your mother give you $250? The answer is either yes or no.
Yes, ma'am. The reason why she had given that back to me, she was on my savings account at my bank. There was an issue previously, which I do not have the information on, but I have a little sister where I went to my bank one day, my account was overdrawn, and my little sister that's only 13 apparently had a checking account, and there was a check that was deposited into the account that was overdrawn. Come to find out, my little sister that was 13 never had an account. I had to end up paying because I only had $70 in there at the time, and so she felt to pay me that back out of the check that she had received.
Was there a problem with your 13-year-old daughter's account?
No.
No, all right.
She never had an account.
All right.
That was her.
Your claim against your daughter for causing the wreck of your car is dismissed. I am awarding her $2,000 on her counterclaim. You spent the money, you enjoyed the money, you paid your bills, you have to reimburse the bank. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
It's too bad that my mother had to sue me.
It breaks my heart.
I think she just wanted the money for a new vehicle.
I thought, you know, maybe she could help me out.
There were no turkeys on the road.
It happened, like I said, it happened.
Maybe not be together.
Definitely no going out driving anymore.
I just hope I can have my mom back and we can be the same as...
Causing you physical injury, you had substantial dental bills, you still have some work that has to be done. you want to be compensated for the assault. Mr. Tomaselli says that you started it, he finished it, and you were unruly. You touched him first, and he acted in self-defense. Is that correct, sir?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. What is your name?
Amber Trill.
This is the lovely Amber. Sit down, Amber. I'm not with you yet, but I will be. When did this happen, Mr. Valentine?
If I could recall the exact date, it would be
The questions
April
are going to
3rd.
get harder. Listen to me, Mr. Valentine. The questions are going to get harder. The date should be something that's fixed in your memory.
The night of April 3rd, 2004.
See, we're not going to play with each other. The only one that has a good time here is me. And you and the lovely Miss Amber were at a party together?
Yes.
Whose party was it?
Kind of my party, a going-away party.
Going from where to where, Mr. Valentine?
I am from New Mexico, so I was visiting. I do live in Seattle right now.
And in whose house was the party?
It was kind of an office building that they renovated into a music venue.
And how did Amber get to the party?
On her own, driving.
You don't know how she got there?
No.
Was she a friend of yours before April 3rd of 2004?
Yeah, we've known each other for about 3 years.
But you did not know Mr. Tomaselli?
I did not know.
All right, so give me your version, please, of what happened on the evening of April 3rd.
It was going well. The music was going. I did notice Ed and his friends hanging out at the party earlier. I didn't.
Mr. Valentine,
I'm sorry.
could you try to focus on me, sir? Focus on me. Not up in the air, not in the heavens, not at your shoes. Try to focus on me. So when you're thinking, you can think and look at me at the same time.
Okay.
Okay.
To my left, Amber was standing in the corner, talking with some friends. We gave each other a hug. We ended up talking for about another 5 minutes. Finished, continuing going into the hallway where Ed was standing. She said, "Oh, hi, Ed. This is my friend PJ." "Hi, Ed." And instead of extending his hand out to greet me, he just cocked back and punched me in the face. And at that point, I started bleeding. I stepped back and exited, went to my car because I'm bleeding. I didn't want to fight. I just went, it's my party.
How come you didn't call the police?
Because he had left already. Sure, I could call.
How do you know he left already if you went to your car?
Because Amber dragged him out, and I noticed this while I was leaving.
Okay, Mr. Tomaselli, now let's hear your version of the events.
On this night, I had gone to the party. I was with my friends.
How did you get to the party?
I had taken Amber out for a couple of cocktails earlier, and while we were having cocktails, I don't drink, but Miss Triolo was. She said she was going to a party she was going to bartend at. Would you like to go? I said, sure. We were going to hook up, go to this party, hopefully go home later to my house. Maybe not. We weren't an item at that time.
Could we? Listen, I'm not interested in the potential romance.
Okay, but this is how I got.
I'm just interested in how you got this. So you knew her before.
Yes, Your Honor.
How long had you known Amber?
About a year and a half.
Had you dated?
Yes, Your Honor.
You dated exclusively or just off and on?
Off and on.
All right. So you saw her on the evening of April 3rd. You had a couple of drinks with her, and then she invited you to come to this party.
I did not drink, Your Honor. I don't drink. I haven't drank in years. I'm a wrestler, athlete, professional athlete.
Okay.
I didn't drink. So I went to this party. Amber was already there. We were standing in a circle.
Who was we?
Me, my friends, and Amber.
Could you look at me when
Mr. Valentine came in from outside, started snuggling up next to Amber. Amber introduced us all. I said, that's messed up, because they were snuggling. I thought I was going to be with Amber, so I walked away. When I was walking away, Mr. Valentine came up behind me, pursued me down this hallway, and said, "What's up, dog?" Okay, he did not put his hand out. He had his hand clenched. He reached out to me. Through my experience...
How did you see that, sir, if he were walking away and he was behind you?
I was in the hallway where I turned around to see what was going on. I walked through the hallway. There was a lot of people. I turned around to see where my buddies were, and Mr. Valentine was behind me.
Yes.
He put his hand on my shoulder, said, "What's up, dog?"
How did he put his hand on your shoulder?
Reached out towards me.
Touched your shoulder.
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes.
At that time, I turned around and said, "I'm not your dog." And yes, I did hit him. Through my experience and expertise, I know someone comes up behind you and says, "What's up, dog?" he has bad intentions. A man this size has the potential of hurting me, someone my size, very badly.
All right, Amber, front and center. You and Mrs. Tomaselli were out earlier that evening?
Yes.
Mr. Tomaselli did not drink?
No.
You got to the party? You went with him?
No.
You went in your own car?
I believe so, yes.
Try getting it more specific than that. Did
Yeah,
you go in
I
your own
drove.
car or did you go with Mr. Tomaselli?
No, I drove.
So you met there?
Yes.
Why do I feel as if I'm telling the story by myself? These are not trick questions. They may get harder, but right now they're not trick questions, Amber. Do you understand?
Mm-hmm.
All right. You were present at the time that Mr. Valentine was struck in the mouth?
Yes.
Tell me how that happened. Try looking at me when you tell me how that happened.
We were talking, Patrick and I, and Mr. Tomaselli walked up and I said, "Hey Ed, how's it going?" You know, I gave him a hug, told him hi. And I introduced him to PJ, and instead of them meeting each other, he just socked him in the face.
Why would he do that?
Jealousy.
He wasn't drunk or anything, right?
No.
He was clearly angry because he said, "Hey, that's messed up." Right, Mr. Tomaselli?
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, who are you?
My name's Kyle McElroy.
Kyle, you were there that day.
I was there that evening.
Good. And I know that you're dying to tell me your version of these events, aren't you, Kyle?
I can't wait.
Well, then just step up here, Kyle. Kyle, how old are you?
I'm 21.
How long have you known Mr. Tomaselli?
I knew none of the parties that night.
How'd you get to this party?
Through a friend of mine. It's a Wednesday night kegger that, as far as I knew, it was like a deal that they had every Wednesday.
Wednesday night, the West Wing is on. Why would anybody want to go to a kegger?
So, would you like me to tell
I
my story?
would.
Okay. Like he said, we were standing there talking. Amber, we were sitting there talking to Amber. This guy walked up. We were introduced. We were standing there. Then Ed got, frustrated, decided to...
Just a minute. I'm going to ask you to speculate. Why did Ed get frustrated?
Well, like you say, the girl he thought he was coming to meet at the party was...
Canoodling.
So...
with somebody else.
Yeah, exactly. Like I said, I saw Ed walking away. The guy kind of came up behind him and kind of turned his shoulder. "What's up, dog?" Ed said, "I'm not your dog."
Well, you just did something. You said, "What's up, dog?" And then you did something like extend your hand.
But kind of, yeah, well...
What does that mean?
Well, like I said...
Touched him on his shoulder, right?
Yeah. Ed took it as a threat, obviously. Punched the guy.
Sit down.
Thank you.
You too. Mr. Tomaselli, you're clearly a very powerful young man. You are proficient in the martial arts.
Yes, Your Honor.
One of the things that they teach you, because I know I have grandchildren who take these martial art classes, is you're supposed to be able to control yourself, Mr. Tomaselli, right? It's all about control, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
I don't think you controlled yourself well that night, Mr. Tomaselli. I think you got very angry. You can't even make an excuse that you'd had something to drink, but you hurt him badly. And there was no aggression on his part, not even according to your witness. He was probably stupid drunk, but he's just sort of a big goof. Mr. Tomaselli, I want you to trust me. He's really just sort of a big goof.
If you say so, Your Honor.
Well, Mr. Tomaselli, he didn't come up behind you, spin you around, and punch you. He came up, put his hand on you, and said to you, "What's up, dog?" Now, I don't know what that means, and I may be out of things. My children are older than Officer Byrd's children. Do you know what "what's up, dog" means? What does it mean?
How you doing, man?
How you doing? That's what it would seem to me to mean. What's up, dog? It's not necessarily a term of endearment, but it's not, choose your weapons. We're going to, we're going to joust.
Not from my mouth, at least.
Oh, you're just a big doughboy. He's you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Not a bad guy. Let me see your dental bills, Mr. Valentine.
The first occurred is for the infection. I got all puffed up and in pain. I couldn't sleep for 3 days, and
You're right.
that
I
had
know.
to get antibiotics, painkillers, so I could finally sleep and go back to work.
Which tooth was it? The tooth that's missing?
Yeah.
That one? You need an implant there?
I still need to get my implant.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today,
Where did you pick Mr. Holloway up?
Commerce Casino.
Who else was with him?
2 other gentlemen, like young, like 2 20-year-olds or something like that.
Maybe that's what you were fighting with your fiancé about.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Patrick Wallentine says fellow partygoer Ed Tomaselli punched him in the mouth. Ed says Patrick was too friendly with his date.
What do you do for a living?
I do a lot of things, but right now,
What you just said, what's your favorite thing?
my favorite?
Yeah. You know, you do a lot of things, though. Tell me what your favorite,
My
what your
favorite
fave is.
is to sing and host people, kind of like parties.
This is so painful.
That's my favorite thing. But right now, I do have a painting business and a construction business that I work for. So but I can do anything.
Can't put in an implant.
I can't.
See what I mean? Mr. Tomaselli,
Yes, Your Honor.
harmless. You misjudged his intent. Put your hand down.
Sorry.
All right. He's a lover, not a fighter. Do you know what I mean? He didn't want to hurt you. And you overreacted because you were angry. And you have to pay for that. Judgment for the plaintiff for the amount of $5,000. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Ed didn't tell the truth. I did not touch him.
There's a tombstone, flying ruckus, left.
I fell back, and that's all, and I walked out.
Went down like everybody.
Maybe he's been choked a couple times, can't really remember it quite straight.
When they step up to the plate.
You were having a party?
It was more like a get-together. I wouldn't say it was a huge party.
How many people were at the house?
8, I believe.
8, including you and your husband?
My husband wasn't there at that time. Including me, it was about 8.
But your husband was also present in the house that night?
Yes, he came in around 2 a.m.
And he was a co-worker of yours?
Yes.
Where do you work, sir?
We work at a place called Nielsen Media Research.
How long have you worked together?
About 2 months now. We started at the exact same time. We were in the same training class, and that's how we got to be acquainted with one another.
Where did you work before that, Mr. Massey?
Actually, right before this, I worked at a place called Publishers Printing for 2 or 3 months. But the drive, I don't drive, and my mom was having to take me, and it was just too much trouble. This place is like 1 mile from the house sometimes.
Great. Okay, Miss Mason, tell me about the theft from your house.
That night when I had went to bed, the money was on my bookcase. I woke up in the morning, I'm going to say about 8:30. He had come in my room. He had stayed in our guest room because he had just fallen asleep there. And he came in, and we were talking.
And where was your husband?
He was downstairs doing laundry.
Go ahead.
And I had just, gotten up out of my bed, and I went downstairs to get a sweatshirt. But when I had went down the stairs, my money was there. I saw my bookcase, which was right next to my bedroom door. I saw it. And when I came back up, he had met me on the top of my stairs. So I didn't go back into my room before we left. And when I came back home, my money was gone.
Came back home when?
From dropping him off, taking him home.
And what time was that?
Between 10 and 10:30 a.m.
How many people live in your home?
Me, my husband, and my son.
How old is your son?
He's 4.
Okay. I read your complaint very carefully, Miss Mason. Your complaint says, by 4 a.m. everyone was gone, so I went up to my room. I made sure that the $500 I had been saving for a cell phone and Christmas shopping was still nudged between the book and a box of magic erasers. The money was folded in half, and the corner was visible to the eye.
Yes.
This says you did this at 4 o'clock in the morning, not at 8 o'clock in the morning when you said he came into your room.
I did. I checked my money at 4. That's when I went to bed. And I got up at 8, and it was still there.
Well, you don't say that you checked it here at 8. You said that you checked it at 4. I didn't understand, Madam, why anyone would have a party at their house and leave money at a place where you would see the money if you were hiding it. If you're hiding money, you hide money so that you don't see it. You put it in a certain place so it would be safe, right?
Yes.
So I didn't understand why you would put it someplace where it would be safe and let a corner of the money stick out.
It wasn't so much that I was hiding it from anybody. Nobody should have been in my room.
All right, let's move on. So what you're saying is the reason you believe that the defendant stole your money is because he had access to it, and as far as you knew, he was the only one who was there in between the times that you saw it, present and missing.
Yes.
You have any other proof that he stole your money?
My mother had spoken with him on the phone.
Good morning.
Your daughter says that you spoke to the defendant about this.
I did, Your Honor.
May I interject for a moment, Judge?
No.
Okay. I was saying...
No.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I spoke to the defendant about 3 or 4 days after that. I said to him, I know you stole the money out of the home. He said I didn't. He denied it. I kept telling him, you did take that money out of that home. He said that he did not take it, but he did.
Okay. Did he say anything else?
No. He just told me he did.
Okay, man, when this woman called me, first of all, she never identified herself as Laura's mom.
I don't care. Why are you responding so? The woman didn't inculpate you at all in this crime. Why are you so insistent upon responding?
Okay, it's just that she called up and told me that she was a police officer and said that she was, you know, this and that.
She has difficulty.
Clearly.
You have been arrested, Mr. Massey?
Yes.
For what?
DUIs.
How many?
3. That's why I don't drive. I walk to work.
Is that why you don't drive?
Yeah.
Okay. Other than DUIs, have you ever been arrested for anything else?
I have.
Is not an answer.
Yes.
Go ahead.
The drug, like marijuana.
When?
2004.
Anything else?
No, that's it.
So, you drink too much and you smoke a little marijuana?
Well, you know, I did.
You did? You don't anymore?
No.
Ever been arrested for theft?
Nope, never.
What kind of money do you earn?
$8.50 an hour.
Who do you live with?
I live with my mom, because when I got my DUIs, I had to go to jail for a little while, so I had to move back with my mom. I'd owned a house and everything else, but, you know, that just, you get locked up, you lose that stuff.
Okay. Miss Mason, it's possible that Mr. Massey took your money. It's possible, but you have to prove it.
Well, he did admit it to my mom.
No, that's not what she said at all. She said he kept denying it. Your mother never.
He admitted it.
I was on a three-way phone call with...
Now, members, listen to me. She testified.
Yes.
I heard her. You have to have proof that he's a thief. Now, it's possible that he took your money. It's also possible that somebody else who was there took your money.
No.
Well, according to you, you had at least 8 people coming in and out of your house. That's what happens. Sometimes money gets taken. And it is possible that Mr. Massey is one of the people who was there, took your money. But there's insufficient proof for me to feel comfortable to label him a thief. Thank you. That's all. Your case is dismissed.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Her husband came home, caught her in bed with another dude when I was there.
My husband knows what I do. I'm not worried about it.
She was fall down drunk at the end of the night.
I think he's been smoking a little bit too much.
There's real wacky stuff going on.
A little one too many brain cells might be completely dead.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Estes versus French. Step forward, please.
Patricia Estes is suing neighbor Lori French for the cost of a peacock and for damage to her property.
Miss Estes, you claim that Miss French's dogs killed your pet peacock.
Yes.
And you want to be compensated. And Miss French says that there is absolutely no proof that her dogs killed your pet peacock. You live in a relatively rural area. There are lots of animals that are the same. Okay. When did this allegedly happen?
It's March the 3rd of this year.
Was the peacock in an enclosed fence?
Yes. Let me show you, give you a copy of the map and show you on our map.
Bert, could I have a copy of Miss Estes'
And
map,
Mrs.
please?
French, if she wants to.
I love people who are prepared. Could you give her a copy, too, so she can follow along?
Sure.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good.
I live at the end of a dirt road, and this is my house here. I'm on 5 acres. And there's a fence around my yard, the inner yard. Mrs. French's dogs, they live 2 parcels down. It's not like we're right next to each other. And my neighbor across the street, who I have today as a witness, that saw what happened, and she lived right across from me.
Okay. Got it. Would you step up, please? Tell me your name.
My name's Corey Kell.
Tell me what you observed on the 3rd of March.
I take my kids to school at around 8:30, 8:45 every morning. Came right back, and when I came back, Mrs. French's dog had her peacock in its mouth.
That is not a true statement that she's just made.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
So you brought the dogs inside and then went to work?
Right.
Well, somebody let them out.
Yes.
I mean, you don't have to be a genius to figure that out. Animal control doesn't spend their time going into people's yards stealing their dogs.
And later today...
Did you call your father to ask him to bail you out? It's not an answer.
I didn't.
She didn't ask me. She...
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Patricia Estes claims her peacock was killed by Lori French's dog.
What kind of dog was it that you saw attack her bird?
I don't know what kind. It's a mixed dog. It looks like a cross between a German Shepherd and a Lab. It's short-haired.
And there's no question in your mind that the dog that you saw, you had seen before?
100% sure. On Thanksgiving of last year, we had our family up. We took a walk, and we actually met Miss French, and I met all of her dogs at that time, which was 4 months prior to this. Her dogs are always running up and down our road, getting in the way, trying to get in my yard every time I leave my house.
So the dogs are out. Why do your dogs get out, Miss French?
My dogs are in my yard. I have never seen my dogs out of my yard. She's saying that my dogs are in her yard with her 4 vicious Labradors.
No, that's not what she's saying at all.
She said that she
No,
just saw my dogs in her yard.
She said they're running up and down the road.
Well, I beg to differ with that.
Okay.
I have some pictures that shows their house with the gate open and their dogs in front of the house.
Can I see it, please?
Inside their yard.
Can I see it, please? Were your dogs picked up by animal control on December 7th, Miss French? The answer is either yes or no.
Yes.
Where were they picked up?
I do not know. On that morning at 7 a.m., it was about 22 degrees that morning. I had brought my dogs into the home, and I had consequently gone to work about 10 o'clock that morning. When I returned, there was a note on my gate that said my dogs had been picked up by animal control.
Who else lives in your house?
I have 2 daughters, well, 3
How old
daughters
are they?
actually. 20-year-old, a 22-year-old, and a 5-year-old, and my husband.
So there are other adults in the house?
Yes.
So you brought the dogs inside and then went to work?
Right.
Well, somebody let them out.
Well,
Miss French, somebody let them out.
Yes.
I mean, you don't have to be a genius to figure that out. Animal control doesn't spend their time going into people's yards stealing their dogs.
Correct.
Good. So we know that your dogs have gotten out, and it's probably not the first time they've gotten out. Somebody in your household isn't responsible, Miss French. You're responsible for this peacock.
Do I get to...
You aren't home. You don't know what happened. Only she knows. She's
Yes,
an
but I
eyewitness.
do have some, well, her house, according to this, is not even in the correct position.
I don't care what's not in the position. I have to rely on what she says. There is no reason for me to disbelieve what she says to me, because after she saw it, she reported it to the plaintiff. So there is no reason for me to disbelieve her. You, on the other hand, were not home. Now, I'm prepared to hear you.
Okay.
I'm prepared to hear you, but I'm telling you that I believe what she says, that she saw a dog that she has identified as your dog, which she has seen numerous times because she has spoken to you. You've introduced her to your dogs, according to her, and I absolutely believe her.
Okay.
So I'm
the woman I
prepared to
met
hear-
was a blonde, so
listen to me. You know, I used to be a blonde too.
Okay.
Let's go. Let's go.
I found the neighbor's boxer in my yard on that Saturday, December 9th, chasing my livestock and my horses. I yelled at her. She left the yard. 15
Which
minutes
neighbor are you
later,
talking
the
about?
neighbor that's in between our 2 homes. 15 minutes later, I come back and that dog is still chasing my livestock. I had to physically take her to the neighbor's home and put her
What
back
does that
in the
have
yard.
to do with this incident? This is not a boxer. A boxer is not a husky.
I'm saying that I have livestock that have disappeared. Out of my yard, she's saying that she's... I would
Oh,
like to
Miss
know
French.
even what dog she's accusing of doing this, because I haven't even got that.
Well, maybe she'll tell you. Go ahead.
The one that looks like a German Shepherd Lab mix with short hair.
You have a picture of that dog?
It's in the pictures there that you have, Your Honor.
Did you give her the and identify the dog that she's talking about?
This one right there. Yeah, the short-haired one. I also have a report.
This one? Okay. Show it to the defendant. Can I see the report from Animal Control while he's showing that to the defendant?
Yes, she said that I've admitted to Animal Control that my dogs did this. I have not spoken to Animal Control, even after numerous attempts to contact them.
Animal Control says that they returned several times. No one was at home. That's to your house. And each time they were there, they left a notice. According to the Animal Control person, I have been unable to make contact with the suspect dog owner to resolve this matter. In any event, I'm satisfied, Miss French, that it was your dog that was responsible for the dead peacock.
Well, I have excuse me.
Miss French, your dog killed the peacock.
Well, I have incidents
Period.
documented.
Period.
2 dogs that look very similar to my dogs that have roamed this neighborhood.
And
coming
that's
from her own
unfortunate
direction.
for your dogs. Your dogs were just picked out of a lineup. What was the cost of the peacock?
$450 for a male peacock with full tail feathers.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $450. That's all. Into your home. And after several years, according to you, it wasn't working out because you had met somebody else. Or it wasn't working out and then you met somebody else. I'm not going to get into that because, quite frankly, I don't care. In any event, you left Miss Steyer in the house, even though it was your house, because you agreed to allow her daughter to finish the school year in the house, but you had an agreement. And your agreement was for those months she would pay rent. So far, do I have it down?
Right on.
Right on. That's why they pay me the big bucks. You claim she did not pay you rent as she promised she would for the 4 months that she lived there. And in addition, when you returned to the house, either alone or with your new lady friend, you found she had taken property that belonged to you. You want the rent and the property.
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Steyer says there was not an agreement for rent. She took only what she came into the relationship with, and she is counterclaiming. She has a rather unique counterclaim. She says she is entitled to half the equity in your home. She will explain that to me. So how long did the two of you live together in this house, Mr. Lawrence?
Let's see, I bought the house in October of '99. I signed on there.
And did Ms. Steyer and her daughter move in right away?
Yes.
When you purchased the house?
Yes.
How old is the child that you have together?
6.
Boy or a girl?
Girl.
All right. Ms. Steyer, were you working when you moved in?
Yes.
Where were you working?
I was working at a nursing home.
Mr. Lawrence, you and Ms. Steyer were together for a substantial period of time. When did you move out of the house in with your girlfriend?
Early February of this year.
Did you give Ms. Steyer any notice?
When I broke up with her, I told her that we'll try to work as like a roommate type situation, you know, until the school year ends. But that only lasted about a few days. We kept getting into arguments.
That's hard.
Yeah.
That's very hard, especially when there's somebody else involved.
Right. So I told her I'd just grab some of my clothes. I'll stay elsewhere. If you pay me $400 a month in rent, I'll pay the other part of the mortgage. And then at the end of the school year, that gives you plenty of time to figure out where you're going to go.
And she moved out in June?
No, well, she was supposed to move out in June, but she moved before school let out and didn't tell me about it.
Okay, so she's supposed to be out in June.
Right.
So we're talking about 4 months.
Correct.
From March until June, how much child support did you pay?
None.
Why not?
Because we hadn't established that. I did tell her if she paid the $400 a month in rent, I was going to give her $250 a month in child support. Since I didn't receive any money for rent, I didn't pay the $250.
Then it's a wash, Mr. Lawrence. You got me?
Yeah.
You paying child support now, Mr. Lawrence?
No, that's my next step. I've already gotten in with child support, told them they need to...
Just 1 second.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So is what you're telling me after she moved out at the beginning of June, you paid nothing in child support?
Absolutely nothing, ma'am.
You know that my sympathy level for you is going like this, Mr.
I
Lawrence?
understand. The whole situation is, if I can show you...
Mr. Lawrence. Like that. Now, what items do you claim, Mr. Lawrence, that Miss Steyer took from your house when she left?
Well, basically the house was just about empty. I mean, all she did leave me was a recliner, a coffee table, lamps, and a few items down in the that were in the closet downstairs.
What had you purchased, sir?
We had purchased together a 62-inch big screen TV.
Just a second, so this is something you purchased together?
Yes, ma'am.
With joint money?
Yeah.
So, what do you want me to do about that?
She did not give me a chance to, we wanted to get together and figure out who's going to take what. I mean, she just took everything.
You don't expect me to do that, do you, sir? Mr. Lawrence, I'm going to explain something to you, sir. You were in what you considered a committed relationship, but not one recognized by the state. The state recognizes marriage, and the state has put in an elaborate system, Mr. Lawrence, for how to separate marital property, how to divide it. The state does not condone living together as a relationship, and the state has not put into existence how you divide property purchased with joint money by two people who are almost married, and they do not provide a system of jurisprudence, that would be me, to sit here and figure out how much each of you contributed to the 62-inch television set, or how much each of you contributed to the sofa and love seat, how much you made, how much she made. The state only does that with marrieds. You chose not to get married, she took the property first. I would say the same thing to her. If you took the property first, the state hasn't put into effect a system where I have to waste my time or Bird's money in a public system to figure out who bought the 62-inch television set. You didn't buy it alone? Comes into the category of too bad.
Does that also include items that she took that didn't even belong to either one of us because it was my grandmother's that left for me?
Well, sir, then what you would have to do is to show me a copy of your grandmother's will.
I have a letter here from...
Don't show me a letter.
Well, it's an affidavit from the estate.
I'm going to take a look at an affidavit from the estate that says certain property belongs to you. If she took property that was left to you by your grandmother, she must return it. That's your personal property. Did you take any property that he got from his grandmother?
The freezer.
The freezer?
Yeah.
You have to return it.
It was given to both of us, though.
No, she only gave it to you because you were with him.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He had like 11 jobs while we were together.
After number 7, I would have said, toodaloo, adios, arrivederci.
And later today,
How many children do you have? 4. Where does he fit in?
The second son.
3 out of 4.
Judge Judy. Cody Lawrence says ex-girlfriend Melissa Steyer owes for rent and the return of his belongings. Melissa is countersuing, claiming Cody owes her for half of his home's equity.
Okay, freezer. That's what you get back, Mr. Lawrence, and I suggest you start paying child support, sir, because despite the fact that there's not a child support order, your child still has to eat. Now, you want to explain to me why you think you're entitled to any equity in this house, Ms. Steyer?
Because I paid on it just as well as he did.
No, you
and
didn't.
I mean, he had like 11 jobs while we were together for 7 or 8 years.
I would have, at that point, after number 7, I would have said, toodaloo, adios.
Right.
Arrivederci. Instead, what you did is make a baby with him.
Right.
Not Swift. What do you want from me? And if you were together when you moved in 1999, you should have been smart enough to say to him, listen, you're buying this house. I want my name on the title. I'm assuming part of the mortgage responsibility. I'll put my name on the mortgage. Then the house is half yours and half mine. You chose not to do that. You lived there like a tenant. The state doesn't put in a system for almost marrieds, Ms. Steyer.
Right.
You got it?
Mm-hmm.
He gets his freezer.
Okay.
Counterclaim is dismissed. That's all. Goodbye. Good luck. Have a happy life.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
My daughter's the #1 thing. I talk to her a lot on the phone whenever she lets me.
I hope he starts paying child support.
I'm trying to pay child support out of something that I don't have because she didn't fulfill her end. I'd have fulfilled the $250 if she'd have fulfilled the $400.
I hope he is able to see his daughter and he takes more interest in her and stuff than what he has been.
I got a new life. I want to bring my daughter into this.
All parties in the matter of Ernest versus Kennedy, step forward, please.
Karen Ernest is suing her nephew, 26-year-old Nicholas Kennedy, for a loan to get his Mustang fixed.
Mr. Kennedy, this is your aunt?
Yes.
That's your mother's sister?
Yes.
Parents are dead?
Yes.
Your aunt tells me that you inherited a lot of money.
I inherited a trust fund from my grandmother when she passed away.
You still have the money?
My aunt is in control of my trust fund, yes.
How old are you?
26.
How much money do you get from the trust fund?
It was a total of $50,000.
So how much income do you get from that every year?
I actually do not know, Judge. My aunt is in full control of it. She's the trustee of the trust fund until I'm 35.
Well, there has to be income that's paid out periodically. How much income is paid out to him?
Judge Judy, due to financial issues with Nicholas over the past few years, before the passing of his grandmother, I sat down with her and her attorney, and we came up with an idea that the only way that Nicholas will ever have any money in the future was to set the age limit of 35 for him to get the money.
And the income is reinvested?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, this is what the case is about. I just have to get a little bit of a picture of the family. You don't mind, Miss Ernest, do you?
No, Judge.
Because one gets the sense from reading these papers that you adored him and he disappointed you. You made him, according to you, a loan to have his car fixed, and he promised he would pay you back.
Yes.
It was a relatively small loan.
Very small.
So I don't think that it's the money necessarily that's the issue.
You're absolutely right. It's the principle.
Right. And he hasn't paid you back.
Not a dime.
When did you take the money from your aunt to fix the car?
It was in the end of July, beginning of August of 2006.
What was wrong with your car?
The rotors, the heat shield, and the calipers were completely shot, as well as the bearings. It basically sounded like it was a bag of tin cans in the back of my car.
What kind of work do you do, Mr. Kennedy?
I'm a blackjack dealer at a casino in central New York.
Do you have a gambling problem?
No.
You have a drug problem?
No.
How long have you been a blackjack dealer?
2 years.
You get paid reasonable money?
Roughly $30,000 a year.
You support anyone other than yourself?
I have my daughter to support, yes.
How old is she?
2 years old.
Does she live with you?
No.
How much do you send her for support?
3.
Current?
Yes.
Do they take it out of your pay?
Yes.
That's why you come. Good. So how come you were in such dire straits that you needed money from your aunt?
At the time, my wife and I were talking about a separation, and I spoke with my aunt. My aunt has a great deal of dislike for my wife, and she was very happy at the sound of my wife and I separating. At the time, I was...
Did she dislike her because of things that you've told her about your wife?
No.
She just decided that you didn't like her on her own?
Yeah, so I believe something happened way back in the beginning in 2002 when we first got together, and things just kind of escalated from there.
Whose fault was it, without going into the story?
I really don't know. I don't even know all the details myself.
Go ahead. So?
I was in some financial trouble, and...
Why?
I was only working part-time at that point, and I needed some assistance with getting the separation going, and when I spoke to my aunt about the separation, she told me she'd help me in any other way she could possibly help me. And I also
Has she done that before?
Yes, she has.
So she's been supportive of you since you were born?
Correct. And I mentioned to her that I was having car problems, but I didn't have the money to fix my car at that time. She then offered to help me get my car fixed. Not once did she tell me that this was a loan or that I'd have to pay her back, just that she would help me get my car fixed so that I could have it back on the road. It was my only vehicle. My wife had her own vehicle at the time as well.
Now, when did she ask you for the money back, Mr. Kennedy?
Since then, I've only had 1 or 2 conversations with her in 6 months, and about a couple of weeks ago, out of the blue, I got a letter.
When for the first time did she ask you for the money back?
She has not asked me for the money back.
Is that right, Miss Ernest?
Incorrect.
Go ahead.
I made numerous telephone calls to Nicholas, his only cell phone that he had, and he never returned any calls whatsoever.
Tell me about the conversation that you had with him in either July or August.
Initially, I was contacted by Nicholas August 1st, 2006. He says that he has problems with his car. It's the only vehicle he has to get to work, and he can't afford to get it fixed. I told him I want nothing to do with trying to help him anymore because...
Why? Tell me why.
Just so many financial issues in the past. Him and his wife have a bankruptcy already on them, 6 months into the marriage. They just can't rub two nickels together. They can't save a dime, and I didn't believe he was going to have any way to pay me back. So it's a lost cause. He begged and pleaded with me that he really needs to have his car fixed. It's the only way he can get to work. During that conversation, he also stated that they were in the process of selling their home and separating, that they were closing the end of August, and he promised, out of the closing of the house, that he would pay me back.
Did you sell your house?
Yes, I did.
When?
It was at the end of August.
How much equity did you have in your house?
We sold just the house, the furniture. We took all the furniture with us, but the house itself sold for $32,000.
That doesn't give me the answer. How much equity did you have in the house? Did you have a mortgage?
No.
So you had $32,000?
Correct.
Where's the money?
We used the money to pay back my wife's car loan, and then the rest of the money we invested into a new apartment for us. Getting new furniture, getting ourselves reset up.
What'd you need new furniture for?
The furniture we had was completely destroyed.
What do you mean it was destroyed? Was there a hurricane?
No, my daughter.
Oh, you mean so it was destroyed by a 2-year-old?
Yeah.
It was destroyed by a 2-year-old. Mr. Kennedy, you sound ridiculous, sir. You sound ridiculous. Does your wife work?
No.
Are you back together again?
No.
When did that change? Yesterday?
We started working on things, and right now it's just kind of a rocky relationship. Right now it's just for my daughter.
So when you bought the new furniture, who moved into this apartment with the new furniture?
We moved in together, and I resided there for 5 days before I moved out.
Something had to happen, Mr. Kennedy. See.
I began seeing one of my coworkers.
Oh, so you sold the house. Whose house was it? Yours, or was it the family house?
It was the money from my inheritance from my mother's passing.
Fine. Because I gather from your aunt, which I sort of believe that you can't rub two nickels together. So you got a little inheritance. You bought a house. Let me follow this. With the money that you got, you bought a house. You sold the house. You took the $32,000. You paid off your wife's car.
Correct.
How much was that?
$14,000.
Then you bought new furniture because the 2-year-old destroyed the furniture.
Correct.
And you bought new furniture, put it in an apartment.
Mm-hmm.
Brand new apartment. You spent the rest of the money, $20,000, $18,000, and you bought new furniture, moved into an apartment that you lived in for 5 days because you started fooling around with a coworker.
Correct.
How much was the car payment?
$649.61. Judge Judy, may I get the correct calculations of his inheritance totals?
Yeah, your aunt says that you got a lot more money than that, Mr. Kennedy. She said it was more like about $150,000 that you blew.
She's correct. That was the original inheritance from my mother.
How long ago?
That was back in 2004.
Mr. Kennedy, you have to grow up, sir. Your aunt is finished with you. So your wife is driving around in a brand new car. You are no longer together. Is that so far correct? Are you now with the co-worker?
Yes.
Ah, perfect.
I just want to cry, Judge Judy.
Listen,
I love you.
some grow up, some don't grow up. You have to know the difference between things you can change and things that you can't. That doesn't mean that you don't love him. That means that if he needs a kidney, you may have to give it to him, but if he needs any money, let him get another job. That's easy, you know? I mean, you may have to give him an organ one day because you love him.
I did tell him no multiple times in the conversation on the phone.
Yeah, he can't, you know. I mean, he can't keep tapping into other people to clean up the mess after him. He's 26 years old. In the scheme of things, in a man's life anyway, that's still very young, you know. If they're going to grow up at all, it usually takes about 50 years. But, and then it's a downhill slide. But he's got a way to go.
His grandma got smart in holding the trust till he's 35 years old.
Because he'll go through 50,000 like water through a goose. Right? Good.
Yes.
Okay, judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $649.61. That's all. Thank you.
The family needs to just still stick together no matter what happens. But then again, he shouldn't keep using me as an ATM.
My relationship with my aunt has just gone so far south, and I'd like to repair it at some point.
His ex was simply, obviously, a gold digger.
We just went through it way too fast. We didn't know how to save it. We didn't know how to use it right.
Money's gone, so is she. Isn't that funny?
I just hope we can work on our relationship and
All parties in the matter of Faye versus Malabar. Step forward, please.
19-year-old Megan Faye is suing her ex-boyfriend, 20-year-old waiter Kevin Malabar, for loans to pay rent and to buy a new cell phone. Kevin claims Megan is upset that he's moved on.
Miss Faye, it is your claim that you made 2 small loans to the defendant while you were dating.
Yes.
Mr. Malabar says that he doesn't record, that he doesn't need your money. He has no knowledge of any loans or financial gifts that you made to him. Is that correct, sir?
Yes.
Okay. You both go to school?
Yes.
When did you make the first loan?
It was August 7th.
2006?
Yes.
Tell me about it.
He said that his dad couldn't pay for his rent because his dad was getting a new job. So he wanted me to lend him the money until his dad could pay me with the new job, and that was $420.
What was the money for?
The rent money.
Where did you get the money from?
My savings account.
You have proof of that for me?
Yeah, I have the statements right here.
Can I see it, please?
I had to take 2 up. Okay.
You had to take 2 out because?
I was doing the ATM, so I didn't think I would be able to take $420 out at once, so I split it up.
Okay. Were you working?
Yes.
What kind of work were you doing?
I work at JCPenney's.
Full-time?
Part-time. I work between 15 and 30 hours while going to school.
But what about you, sir?
I work full-time at a restaurant as a server.
What was the next loan that you made to him?
I've been bugging him about a cell phone, so he told me that he wanted to get one, so his dad said he couldn't do it, so I went with him to open it, and...
What do you mean you were bugging him about a cell phone?
He didn't have a cell phone, so I'd have to call his friends, and he said that he would get one, and his dad would pay for it, but his dad couldn't do it at that time, so I went with him and opened one for him.
Well, he was working. Why didn't he buy it?
He just started, and I made him get that job. He didn't want to work. And
how much was the cell phone?
It was $200.
Okay, and you don't remember any of this, sir?
No, my father would pay cash for my rent. My parents are divorced, and they both would pay half of the rent.
So you have no information whatsoever about this $420 amount of money?
No. And what was the date she said she took that money out?
August 7th.
Our rent was due the 20th of every month.
Yes.
So I don't know why there would be the 7th of the month that she would be taking out money for my rent.
I don't know. That's
He
what she
was
said.
going to visit his friend where he was living, and he needed it that day because he wouldn't get to it before the due date. That's what he told me. I was all just going on what he was telling me, and I didn't want him to lose his apartment, so I gave him the money.
Okay. Now, Miss Faye You claim that after he refused to pay you back, because you had some disagreement about his going out with somebody else, you contacted his father.
Yes.
And how did you contact him?
I had a cell phone because Kevin would use my phone to call his father and his mother. So I called his dad hoping he would be able to help me out.
And did you speak with him?
Yes.
And what did he say to you?
He said that he couldn't help me, that he talked to Kevin and Kevin wanted to do this on his own because he was 20, and that if nothing happens, he told me that I should do small claims court.
That's what his father told you?
Yes.
What's
He
your
didn't
father's
wanna help me
telephone
out.
number, sir?
5763.
Is that his work number?
No, that's his cell phone.
Good. Did you ever meet him, by the way?
Yes. I would go to his house with Kevin. I would have to drive him because
Good.
he didn't have a car.
I'm going to give your dad a call.
Okay.
How's that?
That's fine.
Great. This is Judge Judy Scheindlin. How are you? Mr. I have a couple of questions for you. Do you have a moment for me, sir? Great, great. Do you remember sometime several months ago receiving a phone call from Miss Fay, your son's former girlfriend, Megan Fay? She discussed with you some money that she said your son had borrowed from her. Did she tell you how much he had borrowed? Did you agree to pay her that money? Kevin about it? And what happened? Okay. Did you tell Miss Fay that if he owed her money, that she should sue him? I absolutely agree with you, sir. You've met this young lady before, is that right? Ever had any difficulty with her before? Seemed like a nice young lady? Very good. Thanks very much. I appreciate your assistance. Bye-bye now.
He said,
There are always ways to figure out who's telling the truth, Mr. Malabar. If I can't get it from one source, I get it from another. Don't you feel foolish? 10 million people are going to know you're a liar.
I'm not lying here.
Yes, you are.
What did he say?
That's for me to know and for you to think about. But there's no question in my mind you're a liar. Judging for the plaintiff in the amount of $620. That's all. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I'm just glad that she saw what he was and that I got my money.
She never lent me money. My parents paid all my rent and for everything else.
He's a liar and he's cheated on everyone.
Jealousy,
I don't talk to the defendant.
craziness.
Don't give people money.
Thank you.
Parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated. Young man, take your hands out your pocket, will you?
This belongs to a friend. He's visiting. I thought you would like to see her. Is she sweet? Miss Anthony, this is your son?
Yes.
It is your claim, Miss Anthony, that the defendants owe you a whole lot of money because one of their employees pierced your son's nose without your permission. And you
Correct.
are how old, sir?
14.
You have a place in the mall?
Yes.
And you know that you're not permitted to pierce anyone who's a minor without parental permission.
Yes.
Who did the piercing? That would
I
be
did.
you. How old are you?
18.
18. How long have you been working at the store?
About 5-6 months.
Did you start to work there when you were 17?
Yes.
Are you related to the owners?
Just employee there.
How did you get the job?
One of her friends that works there recommended me because I used to work with her.
What special training do you have to be a piercer?
Not any.
Nothing. Well, who taught you how to do it?
She did.
You mean you don't need any special training?
Basically what we do is pierce ears and sometimes nose.
Do you have a license for piercing?
I don't think we need a license, no.
What else do you pierce other than ears and noses?
Only two.
Only ears
ear
and noses?
Yes.
Why don't you pierce any other parts of the body?
Oh, that's against the law, that's what I know. Because that belongs to body piercing, we're not doing ear piercing.
Well, your ears are part of your body and your nose is part of your body. Last I looked. Who are you?
I'm her son.
So the piercings that we do, it only requires a gun. So we don't do the ones where you get a long needle. So only the nose and the ears are capable with a gun.
I could think of some other places where you could use a gun.
You can, yeah, technically you can, but it's
But
not,
I've
it's
heard
not very
about.
safe.
Okay, sit down. Okay, here are the facts that we know. Your son, who was 14,
Yes.
speak up,
Yes.
went to their shop and lied to them, right? You lied.
No.
Well, sure you did, because they knew you were underage, and you kept telling them that your mother gave you permission.
No.
What?
No.
You mean you just walked in there and she pierced your nose?
Yes.
Is that right?
No.
No. I don't believe that for a minute. I don't believe that for a minute, young man. Who did you see when you walked in?
The young lady right there.
And what did you say to her?
Do you pierce noses here?
And what did she say to you?
Yes. I asked her how much is it. She said $5. So I got it done, and then I left.
And?
And I went home, and my mom got mad.
Okay. Bird, do me a favor. This baby wants to go back inside. Would you take the baby inside? Don't hurt the baby.
You know how much I love dogs. Come on.
There's a soft side of him. Okay. Let's get... You mean this young lady didn't say to you, how old are you?
No, not at all.
Did you ask him how old he was?
Yes, I did.
And what did he say?
He was 13.
And what did you say to him?
That he needed a parent or a guardian that was responsible for the piercing.
And what did he say to you?
He said that she was buying some other stuff around where we work, around the mall.
Put your hand down, Miss Anthony. And what did you say to him?
I needed to see the mom and make sure that she was responsible for the piercing. So he left and he came back. And he said, like, it's fine. And he brought the money. And I'm like, okay. And I told him, I need your mom. He says, she's around here. She said it was okay that you could do it. So I went ahead and pierced the nose, and then he left. And by the time, well, at the end, I didn't see the mom.
Okay. Did you know that wasn't the right thing to do?
Yes.
So why did you do it?
I thought the mom was there.
Well, that was clearly the wrong thing to do.
Yes.
Right?
Right.
Okay. Step up here. Show me where you had your nose pierced.
Here.
Turn around.
I have pictures.
I don't need any pictures. I see his nose.
Sorry.
I don't see anything. Show me where.
I took it out.
Well, I know you took it out, so I don't see it anymore.
It was on the left-hand side.
Well, it's all gone, right?
Yes.
Your mother made you take it out,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Did she get very angry with you?
Yes.
What'd she do?
Take it out.
And you took it out.
Yes.
Step back. Now, Miss Anthony, the employee did the wrong thing.
Yes.
Why do you think that's worth $5,000? Explain that to me.
I mean, she had no right piercing. I didn't give her permission to do anything.
Agreed.
You don't understand what I'm saying?
I
But,
agree.
mean,
Just a second. I understand English, and I understand your statement that you didn't give permission.
Right.
Right. You have a 14-year-old boy and an 18-year-old employee, and he goes in there knowing full well that he doesn't have your permission, full well that he doesn't have your permission to have his nose pierced. So he did the wrong thing, and they did the wrong thing. My question to you is, he has no mark on his nose. He wasn't injured in any way. He had no infection whatsoever. You were very, very fortunate. There is no damage at all other than the fact that you were aggravated. You explain to me why his misdeed is worth $5,000.
Well, I mean, I was upset for a while. I mean, I couldn't sleep. I mean,
you couldn't
he
sleep.
had pus coming out of it. That's why I took the
sleep.
pictures, and I have a police report.
No, show me a medical report that it was infected.
Actually, you know what? To be honest with you, I went to go try to get it, and at the same time, when I took him to the doctor, he was having an asthma attack at the same time, and the doctor she did look at it, and I went to try to get the paperwork from the doctor, and she told me
Don't tell me what she told you. That's hearsay.
Well, she
Don't tell me what she told you. That's hearsay. Miss Anthony, you're not following me, madam. Not everything is a lawsuit.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Did you demand money?
The courts told me to go ask her.
No. Don't tell me what the courts told you. The courts don't speak. You tell me how much money you demanded from them when you went into their shop.
And later today,
Did it make you nervous with...
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Letitia Anthony claims store clerk Paulette Orozco pierced her teenage son's nose without her permission.
So what I'm saying to you is, what makes this non-injury to your son, who did the wrong thing? She didn't chase him in the mall with a piercing gun and pierce his nose.
No, she didn't.
He went in, listen to me. He went into her store. They did the wrong thing. They didn't follow protocol. You're absolutely entitled to say, you did the wrong thing. I want my money back, and I want you to pay me some sort of damages for the medical bill that I had as a result of this. But what makes you think this non-injury is worthy of a $5,000 lawsuit?
Well, I mean, she was wrong, and she lied and said he was 13. He was 14. It happened on his birthday. He had just turned 14.
Well, maybe he was slow and didn't remember.
Maybe so. I don't know.
That's not my question. What difference does it make whether he was 13 or 14 and it was his birthday? What makes it worth $5,000 is my question.
The negligence and the stupidity that they did. You understand what I'm saying? I mean, it was just uncalled for. But what I'm trying to explain to you is, yes, he probably was negligent. I mean, he went in a store just like you said. He did that. But, I mean, it comes a point in time, little kids at his age do certain things they're not supposed to. That is true. But, I mean, the way she talked to me when I went to go talk back with her after she did the piercing.
Well, what did you tell her? I
told her, I said, you pierced my son's nose. And she said, yeah, I did. I said, he's only 14. As a matter of fact, today is his birthday. He was 14 to that day that she did it.
I heard you. You don't have to repeat yourself.
And I talked to her and I said, well, why did you do that? She said, well, I told him to go. Something she was telling me. They was both talking.
She was telling you that she told him to go and get his mother.
No, both of them was talking to me at the same time.
Good. What did you tell them?
I told them that I was going to take them to court because
Did you demand money?
The courts told me to go ask her.
No. Don't tell me what the courts told you. The courts don't speak. The courts don't speak. Judges speak. You weren't before a judge.
Yeah.
So courts don't speak. You tell me how much money you demanded from them when you went into their shop.
I went in there and I asked her, I believe it was $3,000, I believe.
$3,000?
Yeah.
You went in and asked for $3,000. What did she say to you?
She said, oh, no. She did. She said, I'll give you $5 back. And I said, $5 back? What did you give me $5 back for? Because I had gave her $35 for a chain that I had made for him for his birthday. And I paid her for his chain, for his name, and she gave me the receipt. Then she snatched the receipt back out of my hand, and I'm like, I need my receipt. And she was like, well, I'll apologize. She was real snotty to me.
Just a second. So you've been in that shop before?
I bought jewelry from her.
Why do you say that with an attitude, madam?
No, I didn't say with attitude.
I said to you, you've been in the shop before. The answer is yes.
Yes, I have.
How many times?
Maybe 2 or 3 times.
Has your son ever been in the shop with you?
Not with me, no.
So the first time you went in there, which was the same day that he had his nose pierced, you said you wanted $3,000.
No.
You told me, listen, Miss Anthony, you just said that you went in there and you said he's only 14, today's his birthday. You told me a moment ago that he went in there on his birthday. Yes. So it was the same day as he had his nose pierced.
Yes.
Anything else anybody wants to say to me? Yes, what is it?
Yeah.
It was actually, she came in and she initially asked for $7,000. And then she said, my mom said, oh, we don't have that kind of money.
Oh,
okay,
God, that is a lie.
I'll settle for $3,000.
He wasn't even there.
Well, sit down.
He wasn't there, Your Honor.
I don't care if it's, listen to me, Miss Anthony, I don't care if it's $7,000 or $3,000.
God knows that.
I don't know where you're operating from. No injury whatsoever. They did the wrong thing. You're absolutely entitled to something for your aggravation and inconvenience. For your aggravation and inconvenience, you're entitled to $250. Judgment for the plaintiff, that's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Actually, I'm really still kind of mad.
There's nothing we could do. We apologize to her.
They were in the wrong.
She hit a curb and blew out a tire, and the transmission went out.
And Ms. Swartz says that she had an unfortunate accident and that she might clearly be responsible for replacing a tire, but certainly not the transmission, since she had your permission and this accident was clearly not her fault.
Well, she did not have my permission.
Good. When was this party that you had?
A couple of months ago. It was a Friday night. It was at my house, and
Listen, Mr. Pinette, how old are you, sir?
23.
What do you do for a living?
I am a market analyst.
Ever been to court before, sir?
No, except for traffic tickets and...
Well, that's court. So, if you're a plaintiff and you have a claim, first thing you figure out is what date.
Yes, Your Honor.
Because the questions get harder after that, Mr. Pinette. So, a couple of months ago on a Friday night isn't a date.
I believe the date was December 14th, Your Honor.
That's a date. Now, it was on December 14th, 2006. Where were you?
At my house.
Who else was there?
I don't know the exact names, but a bunch of my friends.
And what were you all doing?
Drinking, watching TV, listening to music.
Great. Having a good time. Being responsible.
Yes.
What happened next?
Well, I didn't keep track of everybody around that night. I went to bed maybe around 1 or 2, and the next morning, Stacy called me and said that my car was broken down. I said, you know, how could that be? It should be in front of my house. And she said she was in Sunrise, which is about 20 miles away.
Where do you live?
Downtown Sacramento.
Go ahead.
She said it was broken down. She explained to me that she had taken my car the night before and that it had broken down the night before and that she had spent the night and was calling me in the morning. And I was...
Spent the night where?
At one of her friend's house, I assume.
Okay.
And I explained to her that she had better get my car back to me.
What kind of car do you have?
It's a Nissan Sentra.
Year?
1997. And she said she would. We exchanged words. I was a little upset, and then I fell back asleep. I didn't get my car back until the next day. She had it towed back to my house. At first, she hadn't even told me that a tire had blown out. I did see that for myself when it came to my house. Then she explained that to me. I had not given her permission to drive the car, so I was very upset. Okay.
Don't repeat anything.
Okay.
I have other things to do. Are you finished?
She had told me that she would pay for all damages. She was very apologetic at first, and I felt, you know, like I would forgive her. I had it diagnosed, and she refused to pay it. She says she's not responsible for that.
You had it diagnosed. What was the bill?
It was $1,500, not $1,593 and 83 cents. I'd originally said $1,600. It's I'd rounded when I looked at the receipt. It's actually $6.17 less than that.
Mr. Panett, how did you pay for this?
My father loaned me the money to pay for it, actually.
Did you pay for it in check or cash, sir?
I believe my father used his credit card to pay for it, and I had to pay my father back.
What's your father's name?
John Panett.
His phone number?
It's in my cell phone. I'm sorry.
Ferg, would you please get his cell phone so that we can get the father's number, please? Thank you. And he's going to verify that he paid this bill, sir?
Yes,
when I
he
call
would.
him on the phone? Good. We're going to do that.
Okay.
In a minute.
Okay.
Now, I'll hear you, Miss Swartz.
On December 14th, I was hanging out at Kip's house, and I asked him if I could borrow his car to go over to Jessica's house.
Where does Jessica live?
A few blocks from his house.
And he said?
He said yes. He let me borrow it.
Good. So you understand, Miss Swartz,
That's a different place than she was. Excuse me, Your Honor.
You do understand, madam, that you did have limited authority to take his car to go to Jessica's house, which is a few blocks away. You understand that?
Yes. Yeah.
Now tell me what happened.
I drove over to Jessica's house and told her that I was using Kip's car. And she called me at 5 o'clock in the morning and woke me up.
At Jessica's house?
Yes. And told me she was drunk and stranded. So I didn't even think to call Kip and ask permission because he let me borrow his car. He knew I wasn't...
No, my dear.
He knew I wasn't going to bring it back until the morning. So I...
Darling!
Yes.
You get it now? You look as if you're smart enough to get where I'm going.
Yes, ma'am.
You went to pick up your friend in Sunrise. And how far is Sunrise from Jessica's house?
Approximately 20 miles.
20?
Miles.
Miles, not blocks. Miles. And it was coming back with her, this drunken friend of yours, that you had the accident.
Yes.
Now tell me about the accident.
I was just driving and I was coasting, so I was in neutral. And then I tried to put it into gear, and it would not go into gear. And I went to park immediately, and I hit the curb and popped the tire. That was probably about 5:30, 6 o'clock.
You must have hit the curb very hard.
Well, yes, it was hard enough to pop the tire. And I immediately changed the tire. And since it was about 5:30 in the morning, my friend that I picked up just walked to her house because we were about a block away. And I slept in the car and called Kip about 9 o'clock in the morning to tell him that I was going to get his car towed back to him.
Let us assume that I believe you, that Mr. Panett said that you could borrow his car to go to Jessica's house, which is a few blocks away, to stay over. When you exceeded his permission by going 20 miles away the next day, You no longer had his permission. Do you understand that?
But he knew I was going to have it till the morning.
Don't tell me what he knew. He gave you permission, according to you, to drive it a few blocks. A few blocks is not 20 miles.
I have my witness here that saw him give me permission.
I just said, don't you have your listening ears on? I said, if I believe you, he gave you permission to take it a few blocks away. Once you took it 20 miles away, you no longer had permission.
Your Honor, he lets me borrow the car all the time.
That's not true.
Just a second. Where do you think you are?
Right here.
Where is here?
In this witness chair.
And until you stand up there, what are you supposed to do?
Listen to you.
Right. Once you exceeded the scope of the permission, you no longer had permission. That's the law. Do you understand it?
Yes.
So all I have to do is deal with the issue of damages. And for that, you're going to give me John's cell phone.
Yes, ma'am. Just let me power it up.
Power it up.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
What a nice father you have, sir.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Do you know what he doesn't remember?
What?
He doesn't remember you paying him back.
And later today.
What were you doing for the last 3 years?
I was selling cars.
Why did you decide to go back to school?
I made a life-changing mistake of driving under the influence and lost my license.
That was life-changing.
Very much.
Judge Judy. Kenneth Kip Panett claims former friend Stacy Schwartz took his car without permission and damaged it. Kenneth says Stacy not only ruined the transmission and clutch, but she also popped one of his tires.
John Panett, this is Judge Judy Scheindlin. How are you? I'm very well, thank you. Do you have a moment for just a couple of quick questions for me? I'm here, as you know, trying a case involving your son and this young woman who took his car without permission. Are you familiar with that? Okay. Did he ever ask you for any money to help him repair this car? When was that? 3 months ago. Do you remember how much it cost you, sir? Approximately. And did you use your credit card? Did he pay you back that money? I know, I have children. Did he tell you how it happened? Did he need a new transmission? Was he driving the car? Okay. Very good. And you used a credit card? Okay, great. Thank you very much, sir. I appreciate you taking the time. Bye-bye now. What a nice father you have, sir.
Thank you, Your Honor.
And as a matter of fact, your father does remember helping you out and paying for this transmission a few months ago.
That's correct.
Do you know what he doesn't remember?
What?
He doesn't remember you paying him back.
Well, I owe him money pretty much all the time, and I am always paying him. So I'm in the process
that he
of
doesn't
paying him.
remember. I mean, he does remember laying this money out for you, but he doesn't remember the fact that you paid him.
I have not fully paid him back, Your Honor. I apologize.
Well, how much have you paid him, sir?
Well, I owe him a total of quite a bit more than that. So I guess if you got down to that bill, I haven't paid him any because I'm paying him for things that I owe him.
Well, you have no objection to making the check payable to your father, do you?
No, not at all.
Good. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,593.83 to be made payable to John Panett. Thank you very much. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Thank you.
It may take time, but we probably will be friends again.
Well, now that it's all been paid for,
Diana Maddox is suing her ex-boyfriend, Charles Darnell, for the return of Christmas gifts she left in his home. Charles says the gifts went missing.
Ms. Maddox, according to your complaint, you dated the defendant for many months. And the beginning of December of last year, you went Christmas shopping together. You purchased some items, some of which you left at his house. Those items that you left in his house, according to you, were Christmas presents for your grandchildren.
Yes.
And some other items. Sometime in mid-December, you broke up. And you claim that Mr. Darnell refuses to give you back the property that you left at his house. Mr. Darnell says that he has none of your property, that you must have come to the house to get it because you had a key to the house, and after you broke up, you came home, found your stuff gone. So he assumes that you took the Christmas presents, and that one of the items that you're suing for is a welder.
Yes.
And the welder, he says, was a gift to him from you.
No.
So let's start with the welder so that would make things easy. When, Mr. Darnell, did you get the welder?
Sunday, December 3rd.
Now, was that a Christmas present?
Yes, it was.
Okay, tell me the circumstances surrounding that, Mr. Darnell.
We had went Christmas shopping. I had previously, on November 24th, I had paid to have a remote starting system put on her car for her Christmas present, and this was in return for my Christmas present.
So you had a remote put in her car. How much was that?
$187.20.
And how much was the welder?
I don't remember the exacts, but I would say the welder was in the $120 range. Plus, there was some accessories bought with it.
$178.75, Your Honor.
Now, tell me about this remote starter that he put in your car in November.
I asked for a Christmas gift of the remote start for my car.
And he put that in?
He did.
So he put that in as a Christmas present to you?
Yes.
And you bought this welder as a Christmas present for him?
No, I bought the welder as a Christmas gift for my son.
I don't believe you.
My son requested it.
Mr. Darnell, when she gave you the welder, what did she say?
Merry Christmas.
That's... Your Honor, that's not
true. Was it unwrapped?
It had never been wrapped.
Okay, let's leave out the welder for a moment, Miss Maddox. Let me hear about the Christmas presents.
On November 4th is when I actually started my Christmas shopping, and we had went to Sam's Club together, and for my 2 grandchildren, I had bought 2 TJ Berry Tales. They're animated learning teddy bears. The teddy bears actually read to my grandchildren. I purchased them for $128.10.
Why did you leave it at his house?
Because the animated teddy bears, some of the stuff was electrical, and I didn't want to leave it out in my vehicle overnight.
Okay, I see. Now, all the stuff that you purchased, that you left at his house, comes to how much, exclusive of the welder?
$479.30, or 38 cents, excuse me.
On what date did you break up?
December 9th.
According to your complaint, you tried to work things out on December 17th.
I had called and left a message on December 16th to talk to him.
Mr. Darnell.
I returned the phone call. She was argumentative, and I just didn't feel that I wanted to contend with it at that time.
Or at all?
Or at all.
So you didn't see her on December 17th?
No.
What happened on December 9th, sir?
We was supposed to go to her job Christmas party that evening, which I had already been to my business and taken care of stuff, and I got a call back that I had to go back due to an equipment problem. I tried to get a hold of her for over an hour, and she couldn't be gotten a hold of, and I finally did get a hold of her and told her that I couldn't go to the Christmas party, and she become upset about it. So I just finally told her that I think we needed to part company.
Okay. Now, at that time, these Christmas presents were at your house?
Yes, they were.
Where were they in the house?
They were in the living room.
And when did you find them missing, sir?
December the 18th.
Tell me about that.
I got home from work at approximately 4 p.m., and I noticed the stuff was gone, and there was a few of her personal effects that was gone out of the bathroom. And
what kind of personal items were in the bathroom?
Basically, just cosmetic stuff.
And that was gone?
Yes.
Other than that, did she have anything else in your home?
No.
No clothes?
No.
So just the Christmas presents and some items in the bathroom. And that was gone. And when for the first time, Mr. Darnell, did Miss Maddox call you and say she wanted these Christmas presents?
On Thursday, December 21st.
Where did she reach you?
She called me on my cell phone.
And what did she say to you?
That she wanted her belongings back, and I asked her how I can give something back that I don't have.
And what did she say?
She said I was a liar. So the next thing I know, she was at my house with a Muskingum County deputy. She tried to make the deputy let her into my home, and I wouldn't let her in the home. And then he asked me about the welder. I said, yes, I do have the welder, but it was given to me as a gift. And he basically told her that was the end of it because it was given to me as a gift.
You have the police report?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to take a look at it, please.
It's not actually a report. It's a log where they showed up.
When you called the police, Miss Maddox, to accompany you, what did you tell them?
I told them that I saw him loading things into his car and I needed assistance to make sure that he didn't take off with the teddy bears. I thought it was the TJ Berry Tales.
When did you see him putting things in the back of his car?
On the 21st of December. I had called him, left him a message. He called me back, told me I would never get my belongings back. I had 3 CDs in my car. I didn't want it.
That was on the 21st?
This is on the 21st. So I went to his house anyway. I handed him the CDs because I didn't want them. I said, could I please get my stuff? And he said, you'll never get your stuff. So I left. I went to some pawn shops. Hoped maybe he had sold them. I could maybe buy them back for my Christmas presents. And they wasn't at the pawn shops. So there's a school behind his house. And for some reason, I pulled behind there and I saw him loading 2 boxes into the back of his car. And I thought they were the TJ teddy bears. I really wanted them for my grandchildren. So I called the deputies to help me get them.
Did they look in his car?
No. They said it was property. That's why they didn't. Because at that point on me, I did not have the receipts.
I have to make a judgment as to whether or not you're telling me the truth. What do you think I'm going to decide?
You'll probably rule in her favor.
I will. Do you know why?
Why?
Because she's telling me the truth. That's why. Because I've been in this business for 40 years. And that's why I can tell who's telling the truth and I can tell who's lying. And there isn't a question in my mind that this lady would not have come to court today unless she felt as if you did the wrong thing by keeping her grandchildren. It may have been other things, you know. There were other things other than gifts for her grandchildren. Maybe she would have let it slide. But it really irritated her that because you broke up in a way that was unpleasant, you took her property, which I believe, I don't know what you did with it. You sold it. You have grandchildren. Maybe you gave it to your grandchildren. Maybe you gave it to your friend's grandchildren. Maybe someplace. Maybe you donated it to children. Who knows what you did with it? But there is no question in my mind that you had her property. The welder is yours, Mr. Darnell. I honestly believe you when you said to me that she gave you that as a quid pro quo for putting the starter in her car. And it was an early Christmas present, but not the toys. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $479. That's all. And then for some car deal gone bad. Mr. Rhodes denies owing you any money. So let's go through the timeline.
Okay.
You and Mr. Rhodes were in a relationship in 2005 and 2006. Is that correct?
Yes, December of 05 through July of 06. We were boyfriend-girlfriend together.
And you have a daughter together. How old is that child?
We have a son.
Son.
I actually found out that I was pregnant 3 weeks after we broke up and he moved out of my home.
And how old is the child?
6 months.
When was the first amount of money that you claim Mr. Rhodes owes you? When was that debt initiated?
That was initiated in January of 07. I have the paperwork here from both the dealership that did the repairs along with where my credit card was charged.
Well, tell me about the loan.
I was about 6 months pregnant. He was to start a new job. And
were you living together or not?
No, we were not living together. We had broken up. But he was getting ready to start a new job, could not start the new job without a vehicle. So I agreed to...
So tell me what he said to you and what you said to him.
He asked me if I would help him to get the car repaired so he could have a job to support our family. And
is that what you did?
He offered it out.
Well, how did she know about it, Mr. Rhodes? How did she know that you needed someone to finance your car repairs?
Well, because we talk on a daily basis.
Okay. So she was pregnant.
And
just a second. She was pregnant at the time?
She was.
Was she working at the time?
She was.
And she was supporting herself at the time?
She was.
You weren't supporting her?
No.
So you called her and said...
Pretty much, my car's broke down.
So?
We discussed it, and she offered to help me out with it.
And?
And it got taken care of and paid for and done.
By whom?
By the dealership. She actually is the one that paid for it.
And?
That's about it.
What do you mean that's about it?
That's about it.
Well, it's your car. You have to pay for it.
Well, I understand.
So why didn't you do it?
Because I was financially unable to.
Why?
Because I was in between jobs.
Why?
Because door-to-door sales isn't easy.
Collect cans.
I've tried that. It didn't work out too well.
You tried collecting cans?
Yeah, it didn't work out too well.
I don't believe it. Don't be a smart mouth with me.
I'm not trying to be, Your Honor.
If you can't make a living as a door-to-door salesman, do something else.
That's what I did.
Good. What did you do?
I moved on to a different career.
What's your career?
I'm in furniture sales.
Commission or salary?
It's both. I'm guaranteed a certain amount per week, but if my commission outweighs that, I get my commission.
Who do you work for?
I work for Ashley.
And how long have you worked for them?
Since September 30th.
What did you work for before that?
I work for Bright House Cable.
Doing what?
Door-to-door cable sales.
How old are you?
29.
You're too old to be still finding yourself, Mr. Rhodes.
I understand.
Who do you live with?
I live with my girlfriend.
What does she do for a living?
She is a server.
A server?
Mhm.
What does she serve?
She serves food.
You're his friend?
Yes, ma'am.
What?
Yes, ma'am.
Just in the event you wanted to stand up next to him, I just wanted to give you some taste of what would happen to you if I don't get an answer that sounds logical to me. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect.
May I say something, Judge?
No. How much were the car repairs?
They were $15, $24, and 60 cents. Right here I have the
I'd like
credit
to
card.
see them, please.
The statement from...
You got a pregnant girlfriend who's working, who's not taking any money from you during her pregnancy, who's working to support herself, and you call her to ask her for money? Ridiculous. Where is this car that she repaired for you?
It's actually sold.
You sold it for what?
Because she wanted me to sell it for 2 years, and so finally got to a point where I sold it.
And what'd you do with the money?
Pretty much paid off the lien that took a loan out on the car. Then that was pretty much it. Took care of the whole car.
So how do you get to work now?
I purchased a new car. It's not exactly. It's not exactly new though.
Ugh. You must see something that I don't. All right. $1,524.60. What's next?
The rent.
Forget rent. He didn't pay you back the $1,524.60. Then you let him move in with the idea that he was going to pay you rent. You let him stay there 3 months. He didn't pay a penny. I read your claim.
Right, I was pregnant, and for the last month of my pregnancy, he moved in, said he was going to start making payments. He had a job when he moved in. Payments never came through, and I wanted him to be there for my family.
Then deal with it. Deal with the rent. If you act stupid once and lay out $1,500 for him when you're working, supporting yourself and supporting your unborn child, and then you let him move in, and if he doesn't pay you the first month, you kick him out. And if you let him stay the second and third month because you thought maybe it would work out with him, which I don't know why. What do you do?
I understand that.
What do you do for a living?
I'm an account executive. I'm in sales. The only reason I let him move back in, I was 6 months pregnant, or 9 months pregnant, actually, it was my last month. And I wanted to be there for the child. It's not the child's fault. So I let him move in so he could have his father, and unfortunately, he didn't pay me back. And that's why I'm here today.
I've got the $1,520. Nobody lives free except you let him. What's next?
Next is when he agreed to pay me back. He had a $5,000 check for the sale of the car that I had did the repairs. And
okay, stop there. He sold the car, and the car that he just described to me that he sold and paid off the liens was the car that we're talking about?
Yes.
Okay, now tell me the story.
He came to me with a $5,000 cashier's check. We talked about it and discussed it. He did not have a checking account to cash the check because he's on different bad things with his bank account, so he didn't have an account to do that in. So I agreed because I verified with my bank that it was a legitimate check. He signed it over to me. I put it in my account. I took funds out that was agreed upon ahead of time.
Which funds?
Funds from my bank account. I have receipts here totaling $1,200.
No, I understand you took out funds, $1,200, from the $5,000.
Correct.
What did you do with the $1,200?
I gave it to Mr. Rhodes.
For what?
To buy another vehicle and pay off his back taxes.
All I want to know is, you gave him the $1,200.
Correct.
When did you give him the $1,200?
On August the 10th. I have the receipts here to show that it was taken out of my bank account on August the 10th.
And, according to what I read, the purchaser reneged on the deal and canceled the check.
Right.
How could they cancel a cashier's check?
I didn't know that was possible either.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Paula Kahneman claims ex-boyfriend Andrew Rhodes owes for rent, a loan to get his car fixed, and money owed on a botched car sale.
Okay, Mr. Rhodes, what happened?
Okay, put the car on eBay.
Don't go back to the year of the flood, sir.
No.
What happened with the $1,200?
The $1,200 was going to be my money, and she offered to go ahead and pull it out because I found a car that I wanted to buy, and it was an $800 car. She offered to go ahead and put it out there so I could purchase the car, have transportation to get to and from work.
So what happened?
For some reason, the eBay check got canceled for some odd reason. I have no idea why.
I understand that, but she got stuck with $1,200. Why didn't you give her back the $1,200 when you sold the car?
The car was already sold.
What do you mean the car was already sold?
The car was sold.
Am I not following you, sir? You sold the
be.
car. Let's say you sold the car on August 1st. She cashed the check for you by putting the money in her bank and giving you $1,200 to buy a new car, figuring that the rest of the money would be hers for whatever expenses and money that you allegedly owed her. She gave you $1,200.
Never once asked for it, though.
Just listen to me. She gave you the $1,200. Then the check bounced. On September 1st, you sold the car to somebody else.
Sold to the same buyer.
And he gave you another check.
No, they sent that directly to the bank that had the lien.
For how much was the lien?
$3,800.
Well, if it was $3,800, you had enough money to pay her back the $1,200.
I also had to purchase this car at the same
time. Who cares?
I never once asked for it. She offered it out. I took it.
Mr. Rhodes, listen to me. Why an intelligent, lovely-looking woman like you would choose somebody like him to father a child?
Looks can be deceiving.
I have absolutely no idea. I know looks could be deceiving. You know, if you're picking DNA, at least pick DNA that's reasonable. You know, you want a baby, that's a nice thing. You know, you'd be better off at a sperm bank. You owe her $2,724. That's all. Step out.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She's a little bit off the rocker, tad bit, and we just didn't get along.
He's the father of my child, and it's too bad that he's a tax evader and a deadbeat dad and won't take care of his son.
Gonna do the best we can to raise this kid together.
Hopefully he'll become a father and quit being a deadbeat dad.
Won't let me see him, you know, when I want to see him.
He says that because he's not paying child support, and it's the only thing he has against me, and he tries to use that, but it's a complete lie.
She held once, and that's the bottom line.
He knows that he could have picked.
Ralph Teeter says the mother of his children, April Pyatt, owes for bail money after she was arrested for passing bad checks.
Mr. Teeters, how many children do you and the defendant have together?
3.
3. How old are they?
8, 5, 2.5.
You've never married?
No.
For my own information, any particular reason why?
I've tried. Her rings keep getting pawned.
Did she pawn one after your 8-year-old was born?
Yeah.
And after your 5-year-old was born?
Yeah.
You don't learn.
No. I was trying for a family.
She wasn't interested.
You can't make something stay together.
Well, you got a family, 8, 5, and 2. The children live with you?
Yeah, but we don't have 3 children together. We have 2. And I have one from a different relationship.
How old is that child?
2.
The last one is not yours, is that right?
No, I raised her for a year and a half before I found out. So in my eyes, she's mine.
Okay. Your complaint is that you bailed Miss Pyatt out of jail, $1,000. You want your bail money back.
Correct.
Miss Pyatt has a defense. I don't understand it, but I'm sure she'll explain it to me. When did you bail her out of jail?
I bailed her out on Valentine's Day.
What was she in jail for?
Bad checks. She had a heyday, just writing checks.
On whose account?
Hers.
So she wrote checks on an account where there was no funds, according to you. There were no funds to cover the checks.
Yes, ma'am.
When did she write those checks?
The late end of 2004 to beginning of 2005.
Did you know about the bad checks?
I didn't know about them at the moment, but after I found out, I took out a set of loans, paid off the first set.
He was
didn't
with
stop
me
her.
on
Just a second.
It didn't stop her. She kept going. So, I mean, I
You
can't
were
keep
living
paying.
together at the time?
Yes.
How much of a loan did you take out to pay out the first set of checks?
I believe it was $1,100.
Tell me about her arrest on the bad checks.
On the 12th or 13th, she got up in a bad mood, decided to stomp through my coffee table. So I told her she needed to go or I was calling the cops. Called the cops, they picked her up. My daughter found out about it. She didn't want her mommy in jail, so I went to her mother, and her mom offered $500, and I put up the other $1,000. I bailed her.
You went to her mother and got $500.
Right.
And then you put up the other $1,000.
Right.
Because your daughter didn't want her mommy in jail.
Right.
Go ahead.
I shouldn't have to pay for her getting in trouble. I helped her out because my daughter wanted her out. You know, I shouldn't be stabbed in the back for being nice.
So? What is the theory of your court case?
I want my money back. I mean...
Well, I know, but what's the theory of your case?
I'm tired of paying for a relationship that ain't there.
Mr. Teeters, is that matter still pending? The bad checks, has that matter been resolved?
No, I paid it in full, and not with the money, the bond money.
Just a second. Are you on probation?
No.
What happened?
I paid a fine of $25 a piece, and I paid the amount of the checks that I wrote. And they were wrote in a 3-day period. They weren't wrote.
They were, first of all, written?
Yes, they were written.
Did you plead guilty and accept a fine and restitution, or was the matter still pending? Do you have to go to court? Do you have a lawyer? I want to know what...
No, I pled guilty, and...
So you pled guilty?
Yes.
And you were given a fine?
Yes.
And restitution?
Yes.
Who are you living with now?
My husband.
When did you get married?
April 18th.
Is he the father of any of your children?
No, he's not.
How old are you?
I'm 26.
Do you see your children?
only at her convenience. See, the guy that she's married to is the one she come to me for help from. She come to me saying she'd been beaten, she needed help, wanted away. I tried to help her out.
You mean when she was,
right
at the
before
time
she
you
was,
called the police,
Yeah.
she had come back to your house?
Yeah, and the only reason she was even there in the first place is because she'd been beaten by this guy.
Is that true?
I think if you were beaten, you'd have bruises and marks.
I don't ask.
Yeah. No, it was not true.
Why did you go back to Mr. Teeter's house?
Because I was angry with Ed, and I needed.
What were you angry with Ed about?
He was keeping track of my income tax money and being controlling.
How long had you and Mr. Teeters been separated when you went back?
For 10 months.
So is what you're telling me, Miss Pyatt, that you went back to him and said, Ed is being controlling and I don't want to live with him anymore? Can you help me? Or did you say that he was being abusive?
I said I was mad at him and angry with him, and that I wanted to rent my own home for my children and me, and if he could help me out.
A church rented her an apartment or a motel room for a battered woman's thing, and that's where they only did it for one day, and I took over. And as far as her renting a place, I've got receipts here from where I pawned all of my rifles.
Listen to me very carefully, sir. I'm going to give you some advice. I understand that you're tired of paying for her, but she did not borrow this money from you, and you did not loan her this bail money. According to you, you called the police because she was acting out in your home. The only reason you went to bail her out of jail, according to you, is because your daughter was crying and said, I don't want my mommy in jail.
And she had agreed that me and her mother both get the money back.
No, well, I didn't hear that, sir.
I could have sworn I told you earlier that on the phone, whenever I talked to her, she had agreed that her mother get back the 5 and I get back the 1,000.
When did she tell you that?
That was the night before I bailed her out.
She called you, I assume?
Called her mother's.
And you were at her mother's?
Yes.
What were you doing there?
I was asking for help for her. Where April called, they'd been contacting me, trying to get up on money.
And what did you say?
I'd said I'd do what I could.
Go ahead, I'm listening.
He was at my brother's house when I contacted him, and I called and asked him that I had some money in my purse, which was $820, and that the rest of the money I needed help to come up with if he could contact one of my aunts or someone to help me come up with the rest of the money. But he ended up that night in the same jail I was in for possession of felony drug charges. So we were in jail together.
Not my drugs.
And I have proof of that.
Just a second, were you in jail that evening?
Yes.
For what?
I got picked up for wearing the jacket she was wearing whenever she got arrested.
Go ahead.
He was in the same jail until the next day when he was released. He came and brought my money that was in my purse, the money of my mom had gave him.
Well, how much was your bail?
$1,500.
And your mother gave him $500?
Yeah.
Leaving $1,000 left?
Yeah, $180, I don't know where it came from. He put that up somehow, and then $820 was in my purse when I went to jail.
Where did you get $820?
I worked, and my income tax check had just came in.
Where were you working?
A grocery store.
And you kept your money? You didn't put your money in a bank? You kept
I
it all in
couldn't.
your
I wrote
purse?
bad checks.
She'd have to be saving for months at $5.15 an hour.
No, I had income tax returns of $1,700.
Show me.
Okay. And I also have where he went to jail and an ex parte order and a copy of what I spent my income tax on that he was keeping my witness. That's part of the reason why I left.
You have the stub from this check that you got?
No, I don't believe so.
How much did you receive?
$1,700 and something.
What'd you do with it?
I cashed it.
Where?
At my husband's bank, U.S. Bank. At the time, he was just my boyfriend.
So your husband had a bank, and you cashed this.
Mm-hmm.
When did you cash it?
It was at the beginning of February, I do believe.
So you still had this money 2.5...
a month and a little over a month. When I went to jail.
2.5 months later.
Yeah, I had part of it. I didn't have all of it. I only had about
I don't believe you.
I was saving it so I didn't go to jail.
I don't believe you. I don't believe that you had $820 in cash in your pocketbook. Don't buy it.
Yeah, I had it.
I don't believe you. I also don't believe that there was a loan.
Yes, ma'am. Okay.
You got to prove that to me, sir. Now, I believe that you called the police on her, and they came, they arrested her. Your daughter said to you, I don't want mommy in jail. You felt badly according to you, so you went to her mother to see how you could both put together enough money to get her out of jail. That's what you told me.
Okay, now I work hard for my money. I've got custody of my 8-year-old daughter.
No, we don't. We don't either one have custody. We haven't gone to court.
I've got where DFS gave me primary custody over her until it goes through a judge.
That's not a legal document, is what they told me, and they told me that
If it wasn't a legal document,
that's just
you'd
so
be
she
allowed
don't
to-
have to change schools. It's so close to the end of school year.
Okay.
I have papers from my lawyer stating.
Why do you have to agree to withdraw from any and all drug activity?
Oh, that's the allegations by her. I've taken multiple UAs from
I have
DFS.
proof of that where he's been arrested.
I've taken multiple UAs from DFS that they drop on me on a random. To where if I would have failed one of those, my daughter would be in her custody and
He
would
can
not be
take
in
stuff
mine
to
now.
make sure the test pass.
Along with, I went ahead and I agreed to her restraining order, even though on here it's got the dates and everything that I pulled these rifles on her. But that's where I also got conned into, please help me get a place, my boyfriend's abusive, and pawned my rifles.
Oh, God, what a dysfunctional group. I feel sorry for all of your children.
Yeah.
Your daughter is living with you?
Yes, ma'am.
And he's kept her
And
away
you
from me for 2 months. I haven't even got to see her.
Listen to me, madam. You think that I believe that you moved back in with him even for a couple of days because you told him that your boyfriend was being controlling about your income tax return money?
I just asked him
It
to stay
didn't
there.
happen that way, Miss Pyatt. It didn't happen that way. You went back to him and said he's beating me up and he's assaultive. I need a place to stay, and he helped you out. I mean, the fact that he's stupid, he doesn't get any rewards from that. He also did not make a loan for this.
I wouldn't say he was beating me up. That's
Miss Pyatt, certain things make sense and certain things don't make sense. It doesn't make sense for somebody to take you back into their house with 3 children, only 2 of whom are his, biologically. If you said to him, I'm not getting along with my boyfriend.
He was stalking me the whole time. He kept begging me to come back.
He was stalking you?
Yeah, he hid out in the bushes.
He was stalking you the whole time, so you went back to him? Is that what you're telling
Yeah,
me, Miss Pyatt?
it's stupid my own
You're an
part,
idiot.
yeah.
Anyway, you're an idiot, but you're an idiot who doesn't owe him any money. Mr. Teeters, I suggest that you put it down. I suggest, Mr. Teeters, that if you believe that you are a more appropriate caretaker of your children than the defendant, that you follow through with any custody proceedings that are currently pending. I think that both of you, I don't know how old you are, sir, but certainly she has to grow up. You work?
Yes, I do.
What do you do?
Roofing.
Good. You keep your hands to yourself. That's all. And he assaulted you because he believed that you were messing around with his wife. You want your bills paid, your medical bills, your dental bill. Mr. Podany said he was sort of defending himself because you went after him first. Anna, let's see. You weren't arrested for this assault, sir?
No, I wasn't.
Okay, Mr. McDonald, how do you and the defendant's wife know each other?
I've worked with her for 6 years. She also is a friend.
Tell me when this assault took place.
The assault took place September 16, 2006. It took place at my place of work. Me and Joan went to get something to eat. We returned...
What time?
At 5:30.
After the place closed?
After work, yes.
What kind of work do you do?
I do hair for a living.
So after work, the place closed down and you and the defendant's wife went out for dinner. Is this the first time you did that?
No, I have worked with Joan for 6 years.
So you've gone out for dinner before?
She's been a manager at a business I owned before. So yes, we've gone out to eat before.
Nothing else, just dinner?
Just dinner.
Ever anything else other than just dinner?
No, just dinner.
Went out for dinner, that was about 5:30. What time did you get back?
6:30.
And you, I assume, came back, you went in one car?
Yes, went in my truck.
You were coming back to pick up her car?
Correct.
That's the scene. Tell me what happened.
We pulled up in the parking lot where I work. As I pulled up, I saw that Mike was in the parking lot also.
Had you met him before?
I've known Mike for most of that 6 years also, to the point of actually playing cards and stuff together. Pulled up, I saw Mike starting to walk towards my truck. When he got up next to my truck, I rolled down my window. Mike punched me through my truck window. I then ended up trying to get out of the vehicle. I was unable to get out of the vehicle because he kept shutting the vehicle. So I went over the passenger seat, got out of the vehicle, asked him what was up. His response was that I was messing around with his wife. We told him that we had gone out to eat. I actually had the food container from going out to eat in my vehicle. I gave that to him. Shortly after, the police responded to the scene, asked what...
Who called the police?
I think a witness in the parking lot called the police. They responded fairly fast. They separated all 3 parties.
Everybody shouting at everybody else?
No, it wasn't that. They just separated. There was actually 3 squads that showed up on the scene. They separated Joan, Mike,
Where
and
was
myself.
Joan?
Joan was with me during this time. She was in the passenger seat, so she also had to go out. She was there when the police showed up. The police asked me if I had been assaulted. I said I had. They asked me what I wanted to do about it, if they wanted to charge Mike. I had said no, but I did tell them, at the time I thought I was going to lose a tooth that was already a fake tooth, so I knew it was going to cost me money. So I told him if I lose my tooth, I'd like to have him pay for it. And I also asked the police to let him know not to come around me anymore from that point on. Hindsight, I wish I would have pressed charges at that time. At the time that that happened, I did not, because I knew that that would potentially cause some trouble for their home. Plus, I know that Mike had some potential trouble in the past, and I did not know if that was going to create a bigger problem than what they already had. But since that time, the stitches came out to be the amount that I'm suing for, the $21.29.
How many stitches
I
did
ended
you
up
have to
with
have?
8 stitches in the front and 2 in my mouth.
Where?
Right there. I have a scar from it.
Well, it all started back when I asked my wife if they've been messing around, and she said, no, they haven't. And then she tells me that she's not in love with me anymore. She told me that night that she's working until 6:30. So we were supposed to go out. We had an engagement to go out on a buddy's yacht to go boating. I called her up. She didn't answer the phone. I called her cell phone. She didn't answer that either. I thought maybe she was just cleaning up, so I thought I'd swing out there and help her clean up.
What time was she due home, sir?
6:30.
So you swung out to see if you could help her clean up.
Right. And the place is all locked up, closed up, and her car's sitting out in the parking lot.
What time did you get there?
It must have been about 5:45.
So you waited.
So I waited, and I called her on the phone. Of course, she didn't answer. Next thing you know, they pull up together in his truck. I walked up to angry at what's been going on because I've been accusing her, actually these two, of screwing around for a while now. And I walked up to his truck, and I thought he was going to, since I was mad and angry, I thought he was going to kick the door at me, so I grabbed it, and when he rolled down the window, I punched him. So I'm, defending my family, trying to protect it. And
No, you're not.
I think I was. And now they're together.
Well, but you're not, sir. You're not allowed to do that. Even if they were doing more than just having dinner after work, you're not allowed to put your hands on somebody else.
I know I'm not supposed to hit them, and
So
I know
why
it
did
was
you do
wrong,
it?
but
How many other people have you hit when you got angry?
none.
You've been in trouble with the law before?
Yes.
For what?
Fraud.
Nothing other than fraud?
No.
Is it a long time ago or recently?
A long time ago.
Okay, what kind of work do you do, Mr. Padana?
I do home inspections.
You have children?
Yes, I have 4.
How long are you married?
10 years.
How old are your children?
I have a 9-year-old with Joan, and I have 2 20-year-olds and a 17-year-old.
With your former wife?
Right.
How long you divorced from your former wife?
15 years.
Was it your idea or her idea?
Both.
So you fell out of love with each other.
Right.
You fell out of love with each other.
Right. And then I raised those 3 kids.
Good. I mean, that's nice. But you fell out of love with each other because
Right.
that happens. You understood that that happens.
Right.
You didn't beat her up, did you, because she fell out of love with
No.
you? She didn't beat you up because you fell out of love with her?
No.
Right?
Never hit a woman.
But it happens.
It happens.
It happens.
It does. It happens.
Happens. She doesn't say that you have the right to hit him.
I'm not proud of hitting them, but
Fine, so then you have to take care of his bills. How much were your bills?
The medical bills were $21.29. I had to have the truck cleaned out. That was $175. The clothes I was wearing was $125, and I missed a day's work following the incident, which was $500.
I was told he didn't miss any work.
Whether he missed any work or not, sir, he's not even suing you for pain and suffering, which you should. Absolutely should. You have no right to put your hands on somebody else. He's suing you for $29.29, which is nothing. If he would have sued you for $5,000, I would have given it to him. What?
Since then, I've had to get a restraining order against him because he's actually contacted my ex-wife to find out where I live.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You moved on once? You survived?
Move on again.
How old are you?
41.
41. You're a baby. I got a son 42 years old who's never been married once. You're looking for wife number 3. Tell me your secret.
And later today,
Do you have a gambling problem?
No.
You have a drug problem?
No.
Your aunt says it was about $150,000 that you blew.
People, Judge Judy. Mac McDonald says his friend's estranged husband, Mike Padani, assaulted him in the parking lot at his work.
Mr. McDonald, your complaint alleges that he owes you $29.29. There's no question you're going to get that. I was just gratuitously throwing in that you're entitled to pain and suffering as well. Mr. Padani is lucky that he didn't spend 6 months in jail for assault. I mean, it's over.
It's over.
It's over.
Time to move on.
Time to move on.
Yep.
You moved on once. You survived.
Move on again.
You're going to move on again? And believe me, how old are you?
41.
41. You're a baby. I got a son 42 years old. He's never been married once. You're looking for wife number 3. Tell me your secret. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,929. That's all. Thank you.
Parties are excusing me. Step out, sir. Wait here, sir. I'll be back up to you later.
It did feel good. But then, of course, he got out of the truck and hit me.
No, I didn't hit him back.
I apologized to him right after I did hit him.
He's always been very possessive.
Well, they've been kind of messing around for a while now.
The defendant does have an anger issue.
When he was saying that I spoke to his wife, I actually ran into her at a bar, and she was telling me that's why they got divorced, because of those two.
He and his first wife had issues, so I think he just kind of carried it over into...
Yep.
Is the prize. He is also the defendant. This is his wife?
Yes.
He separates from his wife in August. You take up with him almost immediately.
Yes.
Did you know he was separated at the time?
Yes.
So you knew he was married?
Yes.
How much after he left his wife did he hook up with you?
In October.
No, you met him before October. You moved in according to your complaint in October.
He lived next door to my parents.
With his wife or after he separated?
Both.
So as soon as the wife moved out, you started dating?
Yeah.
Big mistake. Did your father tell you it was a big mistake?
Yes.
Right?
Right.
How much of a big mistake did you tell her it was?
I told her it was a big one. I told her it wouldn't have been worth it.
So she moves in with him in October. Now, at that time, did you rented your own apartment?
I had my own place still.
And when did you become pregnant?
November.
Birth control sound familiar to you?
Yeah.
What did you say to her when you found out not only was she living with him, but she was pregnant?
They always tell me when I'm on the road, so I'll be calmed down when I get home.
And what kind of work do you do, Mr. Dennis?
Truck driver.
Well, then it seems that Mr. Eby decides to go back to his wife. Your lawsuit for 2 things. For a couple of months' rent that is still owed after he moved out, and for the value of car that you purchased for him, Mr. Dennis. You purchased an old car, $500?
Yeah.
Now, Mr. Eby says that the car was a gift and that you paid the bills while you were living there, but after you moved out, you changed the locks and you're not responsible for anything else.
Yep.
Mr. Dennis, I want you to tell me about the car.
She worked first shift. He worked second shift. She was getting off at...
Where?
She worked at a daycare, and he worked at a place called Cook's Foods. She was getting home about 4:30. He had to be to work by 4:45, which he was always being late. So I told him, I didn't tell him nothing really. I went out, I went to a car lot and asked them if they had a car for about $500. So on the way over to pick up the car, I asked him if he could get insurance on the car. And he said no. So I paid the $500, put the car in his name in case he had an accident. I didn't want to be liable for it. And then
so far, smart.
And then when they got their income tax money, I was supposed to get my $500 back. And that never happened.
What do you mean when they? You mean the 2 of them?
Well, he filed, but he put her kids on his income tax so he could get more money.
How many other children do
I
you
have
have?
2.
You have enough children.
That's what I told her. I told her she had enough at 1.
Mr. Dennis, we could have been twins. Who takes care of these 3 children?
I do. Well, I'm still carrying 1. I take care of the other 2.
Where are their fathers?
My daughter's dad is deceased, and my son's dad lives across town.
And you're still living in this house?
Yes.
Emily, you have to find another hobby. Making children is not a hobby.
I know.
Let's get to the car part.
I offered to pay him back $500 a couple weeks later at Red Lobster on the 12th of April. And he declined my money. I had the money for him. He said no.
What did he say?
He said, no, I don't want your money. I want the car. I have the title right here. And these are the things they forged.
You have the car, right?
Yep.
So try yes. It sounds
Yes.
nicer. You know, how many children do you have?
I have 1.
You have 1 now.
Yep.
Yes.
Yes.
Did he offer you $500?
No, he said he was willing to pay me $500 for it, but he didn't have it then.
Oh, but you said you had it.
I did have it.
Well, that's what he wants. He wants the $500. So you have no problem with that?
No, I don't have a problem with that.
Now let's talk about the rent. Ms. Dennis, when did Mr. Eby move out?
April 9th. He walked out.
Why?
He told me he's taken his daughter to his aunt's house and never returned.
Did you change the locks?
No.
What month's rent are you claiming that he owes you?
Well, I paid April's myself, and I've paid May's.
But he wasn't there in May.
Well, yeah.
Why didn't he pay any of April's rent?
Because I got my paycheck from work, and I paid it because he was in between jobs, and he didn't have a paycheck at the time to pay it.
Did you move out on April? Why are you laughing?
Because I never technically moved out of there. I came home. Locks were changed.
When?
On the 14th of April.
Okay, so how much was your half of the rent?
I paid all the rent.
In April?
Yes. All she gets for a check is from welfare.
Who paid April's rent? Do you have a rent receipt for April's rent?
Nope. She would have it. Because I don't have nothing because she wouldn't allow me back in the house.
Let me see the receipt. Did you give her cash to pay the rent?
Yep.
Let's try that again.
Yes.
Mr. Eby, these two women may find you irresistible. I guarantee you I do not.
Okay.
The only month that I'm interested in is April. The only month that you show me on a receipt for rent for April, every other receipt is nice and clear. The month, the date is nice and clear. The only date that there's something written over is April. I mean, didn't you think that I'd notice that?
I picked them up.
What happened here?
I don't know. I didn't look at them.
Well, I don't know either. You get money from social services?
No.
Other than your job, how do you support yourself?
My son's dad pays child support.
You get Social Security for your son, for your child whose father is dead?
No, I don't.
Why not?
Because he didn't work.
Another winner. You help her?
More than we should, but yeah.
What is she going to do after her lease is up?
She's moving into our house.
Who else lives in your house, Mr. Dennis?
All of them. That's why I drive a truck.
You have 3 children? 3
Yes.
children?
Mm-hmm.
She the only one with children?
No,
How many of the others have children?
all of them.
Mr. Dennis, you missed the class on teaching your children birth control.
No, they missed the class on listening.
They missed the class on listening. All right, now, Mr. Eby, you have a counterclaim. If
Well,
my
I'd
memory
like to
is
go back
correct.
for a second.
What?
Things they had forged.
You mean forged with regard to the car?
Yeah.
Listen to me very carefully. Put that down, sir. Put the papers down. Other than the fact that you told me that you agreed to pay him back, and you said to him, here's $500. I'm going to pay you back for the car. I would have ruled in your favor because there was no loan agreement. But you agreed to pay him back. So you're going to pay him back, and I don't care if they forged the Declaration of Independence. You're going to pay him back for the car.
I offered him, he said no.
Now he says yes. Now you're going to pay him back for the car, not for the rent. She lived there. She's going to take care of the rent, and she has taken care of the rent. Now, let's get to your counterclaim.
My counterclaim is for my living room set that she still has, my entertainment stand, TV, VCR, movies, Xbox, etc., washer and dryer.
Now, did he purchase all of those things?
No, he didn't.
Who purchased them?
I did.
All of them?
Yes.
Let me see the receipts.
I don't have receipts. I didn't think I was going to get into a situation like
Well,
this.
just a second. When you moved into the house, he was already living there. So I want you to be very careful with what you tell me. Your father is a backup, and your father and I are almost soulmates here. Do you understand, Miss Dennis? You moved into his house, and of course, according to you, his wife left. He was still living there, and a couple of weeks later, you move in with your 2 children. Did he have furniture in his place when you moved in?
He gave it all to his wife.
Everything?
Yes, I even had to provide a bed for his daughter.
Mr. Dennis, did Aaron over here have any furniture?
Yes, he did. He did, but he
Stop doing that.
He threw tantrums once in a while, and he'd start throwing his furniture out of the house, and then by the garbage, and then they'd pick it up and haul it off. He did that a lot.
What did your daughter move in with?
Well, we carried a big screen TV in there, sofa love seat, her bedroom set, her daughter's bedroom set, and her son's bedroom set. That's what we
What
moved.
about a washer dryer?
That was already in there.
Is that yours? You want it back? Done. What else do you say that's there, sir?
TV, VCR, movies, Xbox, couch.
Well, just a second. How many TVs were in the house?
One.
That's hers.
Nope, hers got repoed.
First of all, we have 4 TVs in our home.
Oh, you do? Well, one of them must belong to him.
And he can have it. It is downstairs.
Oh, fine.
That's not the TV.
Listen to me. You're lucky I'm listening to this at all. Because you two have to find another hobby. You have enough children for a while. Caused enough damage.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today,
I told her that I didn't understand why she would do something like she had done. He had done everything to help her. It really hurt.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Emily Dennis and her father, Rodney Dennis, are suing the father of Emily's unborn child, Aaron Eby, for rent, bills, and the value of a car. Aaron is countersuing for the return of his furniture.
Washer, dryer, and TV. He's going to pick it up 5 days from today.
Okay.
Do you speak to him?
No.
Do you?
No, but I can. I mean, it won't bother me.
Fine. Then why don't you?
He knows my number.
Why don't you make arrangements to go and get it?
All right.
So, I read your answer, Mr. Eby, and according to you, you're not even sure that this baby that Miss Dennis is having is yours. I have a feeling it is. But I'm sure you're going to do a paternity test.
Yes.
Which is a very good idea. And that means that the two of you are going to be joined in some way for the next couple of decades. So I suggest you start to act responsibly and reasonably towards each other. And he has a very calming effect. At least he did on me. He had a very calming effect. So I suggest you keep him as a friend. Do you understand?
Yes.
Do the right thing with him. He's tried to do the right thing with you. Got it?
Yes.
You took him back?
Yeah, I did.
No, I didn't. Yeah, I did is fine.
Yes, I
Good.
did.
Shh, say nothing. Sit down. You taking him back is your problem, not mine. Very good. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $500 on the counterclaim. You'll have the property as I outlined it in 5 days, and Mr. Dennis will take care of seeing to it that it's picked up. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
They went out to my car, stole the bill of sale, forged my name on it,
He moved in 2 weeks after I left. He was no good.
trying to get me a ticket because the cops were going to write me a ticket for possession of a stolen vehicle.
He left me for his drug addict wife. All the furniture was ours. I'm carrying his child.
Yeah, I'd like to have him be part of it, but